Okay, we're running. Yeah.
Wait, we're live now?
We're live.
Wanna party, that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kings of Sinks Season 5 competition. And I'm joined here with our good buddy Blue Leaf, who is hosting this year's comp, and the one and only Nerdbox. Say hello, guys.
Hey!
So I can't believe it. 5 years, and we're here. Another year, another competition. We're here in the round one with about 64 competitors in this year's competition, 53 of them submitted. So, are you guys ready to go through these results, dudes?
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right, excellent. So, we'll start out with the person who finished 53rd place, because that's the... Actually, no, we got to start out with the people who did not submit. So, everyone press F to pay respects for all those who did not submit. The following names include Wilco Whiteheart, Johnny Marker, Brisk Sinks. We also have Kuda Mayaki, who actually did not submit, which is a pretty big surprise, as well as James GS. Those guys, I was hoping that they would complete some sinks, those guys. And then we have Jask, Jask, Vitality, did not submit, as well as Mr. Ragdizzle, Shiro, and I believe Dynaboy and Wakoli were the other individuals who did not submit sinks. So everyone take a moment, please, to press F to pay respects for all those who did not submit a sink. Okay, we used up our moment. Let's go to the actual results now. So finishing 53rd place with a grand total of 12.9 points, we do have Mr. Cutez, who decided to sink that song Groove, which is honestly, it's overplayed song, but kind of a cool song. So he decided to do Overwatch and sync this song. So we have Blue Leaf and Alex who are going to go in depth with this sync. Blue Leaf?
I had Asm feedback. It was definitely better than last year, but it still fell flat due to the fact that, the audio was still inconsistent. He uses a lot of generic packs, and the sync just didn't feel good, in my opinion.
In terms of my feedback for this, this sync actually had a surprisingly strong intro. It kind of went right into it and was, quite above par for the intro. But unfortunately, just the minor things added up to major things. There were accuracy issues in the Battlefield 4 section. The song isn't technically deep and doesn't owe itself to much. It doesn't owe itself to being a creative sync. It's quite hollow and shallow. That coupled with the fact that in terms of the sync, it's very much the bare bones. You could have used sounds with a lot more sustain. It would have suited the sync better. And it just generally ends abruptly and has minor accuracy issues throughout. My kind of overall feedback for it is the entire sync just kind of felt a bit rough around the edges. You should have spent a bit more time tidying things up, adding a bit more depth, trying to give it some sort of solid ending. Because the intro was fine, the intro was good, but the ending was just straight up abrupt.
Yeah, I'd say that a big theme with this competition, we always say this theme in almost every single year we do this competition, is consistency. And with that consistency, you got to be consistent throughout the entirety of your sync. You got, if you have a very strong beginning and you do not maintain that strong beginning into your middle and your end, your sync is going to often fall flat. So Mr. Cutez, that's the big criticism I have for your sync in particular, is you got to work on your consistency. So with that, we're going to move on to 52nd place. With a grand total of 18.7 points, we have Kimwer Oyunda. And first of all, I do have to say, this man decided to sync, was it Crab Rave he did? Blue?
Can't remember.
He did him While You're Gone.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was thinking of somebody else. I apologize.
No,
man,
Kimwer Oyunda did sing Crab Rave, but that was not his KOS submission.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. That was something we were talking about earlier, but never mind. Anyways, on to Kimwer Oyunda's sync. He decided to do While You're Gone, the song, and sync that up to Infinite Warfare. And it was only about a minute or so sync, it was kind of on the short side, at least for me. I'm sure that Blue and Alex will have much more detailed criticisms for this one. A couple of accuracy issues throughout, a little bit of audio imbalance throughout. And I'll point it up to Blue Leaf and Alex. Guys?
Okay, so I found this sync to be, well, as I described it, nothing special. Just, oh, hold on, my computer just did something dumb. Nothing.
How nice.
Yeah, nothing special, just average with little bits of lag. It's basically the big downfall at this sync is that, well, the viewing experience isn't quite there. This pack has a lot of lag and has a lot of delay. The sync also felt like the most bare bones you could have for a sync and just didn't have enough interesting stuff going on. And that's basically where my criticism ends.
Yeah, I can basically echo the things said by Blue here, but my general takeaway was the mix was very inconsistent. The mix itself was very high to the point of it clips pretty severely, and the sync overall is just very short and doesn't really hold my attention that much. As said, it's the bare bones experience.
And with that, that's 52nd place from Mr. Kimler Oyunda. Now we move on to 51st place with a grand total of 22.2 points. The triple twos coming into play. We got Xbox 366. And while I love the song that he synced, I do have to say, because a song like this is extremely difficult to sync. So I give him credit for trying to sync a song that is supposedly, I'd say, outside of his comfort zone. And he decided to do this song with a bunch of games, multi-games put into one. I'm going to mention that just a couple small things, small good things. I do like his typography with the text and stuff like that, especially at the between 20 and 25 seconds, the text starts popping up somewhere. Or actually, no, 25 seconds, excuse me. And then I do like his RPG usage and a couple of the other weapons that he used in the sync. Although I do have to say that, once again, inconsistency is the main theme with this sync that I'm finding. Lots of volume. The volume on certain weapons is much higher than others, and it's not really balanced per se, and it doesn't flow that well when it's really inconsistent. So, Blue and Nerdbox, what do you guys have to say for this thing?
Okay, so first of all, there is no CC, which makes it very bland. As my criticism, you really need to learn how to, put different games together properly. No offense, bro. Yeah, the games, the mixing between them, it all just really doesn't flow together. If you look at my KOS final sync, for example, I am master the games like one by one, clip by clip, just very narrow to the ear, because, well, once you actually start hearing how the low end and the mid end and the high end actually mixes together with some games and doesn't fit with others, you can really start to see how you can actually incorporate them together. You really gotta learn to do that because, well, in some games it like peaks in the low end, and the others it like really dips in the high end. It just really doesn't work between them, so you really gotta like master at different levels. That's the main thing I've problems with your sync.
Yeah, just to echo a few things that Blue touched on. In terms of this sync, I was actually reasonably impressed with this. It got a 60th percentile mark from my scoring. Generally, as Blue was saying, is it felt a lot like you basically had the ethos of, look how many games I can use at times. And one of the big challenges in general with just making a sync across games is, how do you take the sound design principles of so many different games and put them into one thing and have it uniform across all of them? In terms of this sync, it was let down a lot by having quite a inconsistent mix throughout. So the intro was quite high, the chorus was lower, and it's just about trying to get all of these games with different sound design principles, and trying to get them into one uniform package that you can then give as a submission. My judging for this was slightly off kilter to the rest of the scores that were given by everyone, but again, syncing is subjective. Judges have their own priorities of what they value, and that can lead to disagreements in the scoring.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's Mr. Oh wait, were you gonna say something, Blue?
Yeah. Xbox. I've seen your syncs, and I know you can do better. I really want to see you compete again next year and really show what you've got. Because
Also, I do want to mention too, not to cut you off, Blue. I was going to mention that this was one of the very first syncs that were actually submitted when we released the lineup video. So basically, within a span of just, I'm not sure if it was 24 hours or I forget how long it took Xbox to submit, but it was within like the first week Xbox submitted
the first
this.
2 hours.
So really, it was the first 2 hours. Seriously?
Yeah, it was within the first 2 hours.
That's fucking crazy. But you fucking madman, Xbox. But I'm just gonna say this: with the time that you have to edit these pieces and put them together, you want to be able to take the time till the due date to like use up all the time that you can. Like you kind of just like the lineup came out and you upload the video. My suggestion would be for next time, you gotta take all the time you can to make sure everything's mastered correctly. Ask for advice from other peers and all that, and go from there, man. I mean, that's what resources are for, my guy. And then also, don't upload within the first 2 hours next year.
Yeah, take a bit more time, polish things up, get things a bit straightened out, get some second opinions on people. Of course, you can't ask judges to review syncs because that has an implicit bias to it, but you can ask your peers. There are plenty of them in the Discord and the like.
Asking the judges is cheating. Okay.
I mean, you can ask me, I'll just tell you no.
You can always...
Finishing in 50th place with a grand total of 22.8 points, we have Real MMDP, who did the Tetris sync. And I do have to say that the colors are pretty cool in the background and stuff. And there was some really cool like animations in the beginning. But throughout the rest of this sync, it was just kind of really bland. And the sounds of the guns were kind of low, and it wasn't really anything special besides maybe the topography, which is like one of the really few things that really stood out. And unfortunately, just having good typography is not going to win you the competition, or for sure make you move on to the next round. The focus here was the weapon sounds are just like really low and stuff. Although I do have to say though, I was quite intrigued by the effects used at the 32 second marker, where the weapons are like looks like they're traced or something like that. I do kind of like that effect. It is kind of cool. Blue?
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought you were gonna go on. For me, it was basically my feedback is the mastering is too low. I really like the effects. I really like the color scheme you had going. I really like the typography. The visuals were basically, well, the innovation we are looking for in a sync in this kind of a competition. But the audio just wasn't up to it just wasn't. Yeah, it just wasn't up to par. So yeah, that was your biggest downfall. You have a lot of, well, potential, but you didn't quite get there. Alex?
Yeah, my general things of this is the sync itself was very short, very, very short. The mix was very poor as well. It generally felt quite rough around the edges, and in terms of the actual sync itself, it wasn't technically that deep. Now, the stylistic choices you had were really cool, but they were poorly executed. I don't know whether that's a combination of like lack of experience and the like with this editing style, but one thing I did notice is your chroma keying is very, very poor and has ghosting issues. It's slightly translucent. You can see the background through it. Considering I was the person that kind of founded this subgenre of like, I wouldn't even call it a subgenre, the trick of masking guns out with using a chroma key to put them on backgrounds. I was the one that pioneered that, and I had exactly the same sorts of issues when I started developing it. If you find, I think it's Porta Vista by Hyper Potions, I did a CSGO sync of it, which was the first one that I did using this technique. I have ghosting issues on that, and it's to do with chroma keying tolerances. So you want to make sure that your tolerances are in check, jack up the low end a bit and lower the top end a bit, just to cut out some of the noise and to stop it from ghosting and becoming slightly translucent. Now, the thing is with this thing is, I'm really disappointed it finished so low, because the spark is there. I can see exactly what your vision is, and I can see exactly what you're going for. It's just getting the experience, getting the skill, and getting the resources to forge that down into something which is a complete package and is phenomenal. If this was to the production value of someone like myself, Blue, Jay, this would be an insanely strong sync. I can see that you've got that spark there. It's just a case of getting that and making it into the sync that you want.
All right, then. So with that, we're going to move on to 49th place. We're in the top 50, boys. We're in. So finishing 49th with a total of 24.7 points, we have H1D3M, who is making his second appearance in this competition, I believe. He did compete last year, as it will actually show on screen that in his intro, he did a Season 4 entry, and he was pretty much making fun of how he did last year. And interesting intro. I did actually have a little giggle or two, just because who can't laugh at the background laugh? I mean, that's just crazy. But then he says he's ready to go into his real sync. FBI opens up the door, and the sync begins. But when the sync begins, I do have to say that the mastering is a little bit inconsistent, especially in the beginning, where it's kind of low, and it does build up a little bit better in the mid stages of the sync. But once again, my biggest complaint with this one is inconsistent audio mastering. Blue?
Okay. Spicy intro. Yeah.
Cringe.
Piss off.
I'm kidding.
I really liked the meme in the beginning. It was quite a spicy meme, like I said. But then, well, you are clearly making progress, like you are implying in the intro. But there are still problems, like the audio mastering. You constantly mirror the guns in the beginning, and you like, well, you should. I really don't like that, because it just doesn't feel right. Your choice of weapons is good. However, instead of like doing the AA12 trick when doing the sprays, you like do it in the way that you have to like reload straight afterwards, which I really dislike, because it just doesn't look right. And also, your typography was just not to my liking. Yeah, that's basically my that's basically what I think of it.
Yeah, to run through like the stuff that I took note of during this is, as said, the mix was low. The melody that you were hitting, you are completely ignorant to pitch changes within it. You just hit it with the same gun over and over. That's fundamentally wrong, and you need to pay a bit more attention as to what you're actually syncing. However, contrary to what Blue said, I actually quite liked the presentation of this. I thought it was pretty good, even if it was a bit here and there. In terms of the sync, I felt that the second half was much better. And just one thing that you need to tidy up is there are a few black frames here and there, which is where you haven't connected clips together and you end up with a black frame being rendered. The intro did give me a giggle. However, the following ear rape by the FBI open up meme, not so much. Please, if you're going to mix something low and then blast my tits off, it better be good, otherwise you're getting marked down.
The good old blast the tits off. That's good. That's good to know.
Damn my ears.
Someone please make that an audio sample. We really need that as an audio sample now.
Blowing off some boobies with the boys.
Yes. But yeah, no. But I will say this just as a final remark, and then we'll move on. This sync was definitely better than last year's HD1, or H1. So nice work on improving your sync. So you're getting better as time goes on. So just keep it up, and just practice makes perfect, man. That's all I can really say. So with that, we're gonna move on to 48th place, Mr. Arise GS, finishing with a total of 25.3 points. As Brace Your Madness, which is a relatively common song as far as what I've seen in the syncing world, and he decided to go with some Battlefield 4 and then mix in some Black Ops 3 and all that good stuff. I do have to say this sync was like an average, beginning. You get, average mastering. It wasn't, too terrible or anything like that. But actually, I kind of did like this sync. This sync had a couple ups and downs in terms of consistency again, but was a little bit more balanced than what I've seen from the rest of the field so far, at least up to this given point. Although I will say that on the drop, there were a couple of bits and pieces that were mastered too low, or the weapons just did not mix appropriately with the sounds that were on the song. So once again, consistency is a big key. Blue.
Okay, in the beginning, in the Battlefield 4 part, right, it just sounded good. The mastering was good and everything, but then you started switching games and the mastering just basically did the same as what happened in Xbox's sync. How some games are more audible than others because some peak in high end, some peak in low end. And, it only gets worse once you get into the drop. You once again did the thing that Hidden did with the reload and sprays, which I really dislike, and there is a lack of effects which just makes it look unfinished. That's my take on it.
My criticism is a bit more anal on the fundamentals. As said, the mix is kind of inconsistent. In the chorus, it was reasonably low. But the one thing that kind of irked me from this sync was the complete ignorance of pitch changes in the intro bassline. You just hit it with the AK-12 constantly, and that's fundamentally wrong. Again, it's something that is quite fundamental, and you should work on to fix that. When you have a pitch change in a bassline, you should be changing the pitch of the gun, preferably using different guns that are slightly higher or lower in pitch respectively, but sometimes that's not always doable. But yeah, my comments are quite straightforward.
And with that, we now move on to 47th place. I'm Creepy, by the way, who finished with a total of 27 points, and he decided to do Analog and Fractal. It's either those two songs or that's one song, or are they both one song, or is it one song, or is it two separate songs for this one?
It's one song.
Okay.
He did sing one of the songs that fucking LP Bros synced in his KOS in 2000.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was Analog Fractal.
Okay, so this is okay. Yeah. So with this song, he decided to do some Rainbow Six Siege, which at least in my opinion, one of the most difficult games to sync a song effectively, and it's because the sprays sound very similar, and it's hard to distinctively separate the sounds of the sprays in regards to the weapons and the guns without it overloading the ear rape or volume of the weapons too high. So I feel like that's where Creepy kind of fell into the trap right away, where a lot of the guns, you just can't hear them, and the sprays don't sound distinctively different, where the sprays are ignoring the change of the actual song, or like They're ignoring kind of the pitch changes of the song, where and then also I don't think it helps your cause if you put the most laziest sync I've ever made on the middle of the screen. Enjoy the black screen. I hate to say it, bud, but
Yeah.
it definitely does not help your cause.
That really did actually fucking tick me off a little bit. It's just you're not gonna help your cause. This is a competition. If you're going to win, saying that you're a lazy git is not going to do you a service.
Unless he put that up there just for fucks and lulz and decided, hey, I'll give the judges this. Let's see how this goes with them. For me. But I'm just gonna tell you, if it's all fun and games and all, that's cool, but it's definitely not gonna help your cause. That's all I'm gonna say. Blue?
Flashbacks to 2016, like I fucking said. I love the song choice. Yeah, I fucking love that song. It like gives me fucking flashbacks to all the places.
Vietnam flashbacks engage.
Oh, flashback.
Okay. Okay, continue.
Okay, yeah. The mastering is not very good though, but that's really difficult to do in a Rainbow Six Siege sync if you're not really experienced. There were effects, and that is good, so that's why it got a bit of a higher rating from me. But yeah, the audio is the main drawback. That's basically my yeah.
Yeah, like, just to echo that, the mix is insanely low. I mean, it would be a good sync if I could hear it. I can't really hear it that well at all. I can hear the percussion just about, but the actual sprays are non-existent. The effects are really cool though. I do quite like the effects. They're not like completely blow your face off levels of ridiculousness, but they are just enough to be like, yeah, I can get behind this. They're well made, they're well produced, and they're well presented, but the mix does really holds this back. And just to reiterate it, because it did tick me off, degrading yourself in the black screen is a good way to lose points.
Yeah, I do agree.
I don't really have much else to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say in this sync compared to the other syncs, going back to consistency, it felt like there was a lot more to offer in the second half of the sync compared to the first half. So compared to everybody else, Creepy was on the backwards side of things, where his second half was better than his first half. At least, or I should say, extremely noticeably in that regard. But anyways, we're gonna move on to 46th place, finishing in 46th. 46th. It's hard to say 46th for some reason. I'm not sure why. But Mr. Smug Helmet finishes in the 46th position with a total of 32.9 points. And let's just let this sink in for a minute. Mr. Smug Helmet did a PUBG gun sync, actually, which is definitely interesting and different. I do like that.
Yeah, I don't see many of them.
He also synced mobile.
Yeah, he did a mobile sync, so round of applause. This guy's a Chad for doing.
He edits on fucking mobile. Holy shit, man.
I've seen some mobile syncs and it just got awful. This one, considering it's a mobile sync, is great. I love that. So extra for me, that's extra points for Mr. Smug Helmet. But anyways, getting into the actual sync itself, it feels like just it's just an average sync to me. It's just like nothing was really like wrong per se, other than maybe like a couple accuracy issues here and there. And like certain weapons did not really mix in certain areas, but just for me, it just seems like an average sync. Blue?
Like I said, really impressive for a mobile sync. Like, especially that you fucking ended up here. Like, mad respect from me, man. The sprays just didn't feel right, but that's probably because of your editing software. But what you made of it, it was really good. But I couldn't give it a higher score due to, well, sorry to say this, man, but your editing software held you back.
Yeah, in terms of like my comments on this, in the like first half, I'd like to have seen the piano synced. It's the most prominent thing there, and just the percussion just doesn't do much for me. But the thing is, I actually didn't know this was edited on mobile until the guys here just informed me of that. But it's a surprisingly competent sync, actually. Christ, it's got a good mix, it's got good matching. It's quite consistent across the board. There's no crazy effects or anything, which is largely due to being on mobile, but it's an all-around uniform, competent entry. It doesn't do anything wrong explicitly. Of course, there are just a few tiny little things here and there, but it's generally consistent across the board. There isn't like a huge flip of low mix to high mix to blasting my ears off to I can't hear this. It's quite consistent.
I do have to say, I think we can all establish this, that Mr. Smug Helmet is going to be the mobile sync champion. I think we could all agree on that. Yes. This is the only mobile sync in the field. The mobile king of syncs. Yes. Yes. Well, I guess we'll go with that. But congratulations, Mr. Smug Helmet. Good stuff. But unfortunately, you're not going to make it to the next round this comp, at least for that sake. But we will give you the We'll give you the reward for Mobile Sinker of the Year. We'll give you that. That should go well for you. But congratulations, Mr. Sogmel. And that was a decent entry, though. Good job. So with that, let's move on. Let's not get too tied up on Mobile Sync Champion. To 45th place with a grand total of 37.7 points. We have Pierce. If you guys don't know, this is the former Riot Syncs, I believe was his original name. But now he changed his name. But he decided to do one of my favorite songs of all time. I love Bring the Madness. This is one of my favorite songs many years ago.
Yeah. Me and Escape have actually synced this. I don't know whether you have, Blue.
I've actually synced the True Energy remix.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, me and Nerdbox did a collab on this with TBG and Tumsy.
Remix, right? You did the noise.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I just did what I was told, like a good little boy.
So as we get into this sync, I do have a couple comments myself. I will say that the beginning was quite strong for me. I do like the beginning, especially the hammer noises seem to mix surprisingly well. At least for my taste, might be a little personal opinion. But I will say at the between the 40 or between the build up, there was certain points where it was kind of like meh for me, or at least it didn't seem like it mixed well. And then I could not hear the shotgun at all in the build-up. So once again, we're going back to the theme of audio mixing and consistency. So that was definitely one of the big errors of this sync. And also going into the effects side of things, though, I will say there were some cool effects being used. Nothing too obnoxious, as Nerdbox mentioned with one of the syncs earlier, but it got the point across. It was really cool and also pretty smooth. And I feel like there was just certain parts that just popped out more than others instead of the sync being entirely good, which is the advice I'm going to give here is, like I said, with the many others, consistency. Make your sync consistent, make it smooth and amazing throughout the entire thing, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Blue?
Like I said, I did like the song. It used to be overused, but at this point in time, when you're singing it, it's just an OG song, and you can't help but like it.
You gotta headbang, my dude, to a song like that.
You gotta headbang. The mastering was all over the place. I'm sorry, man, but your audio wasn't really. It wasn't up there. The effects were really good. I really had a good viewing experience out of this sync. I would have liked a bit of CC though. That's like one of the effects I like to see the most on syncs. So people who move on, keep that in mind. Yeah, it was mainly the audio that held you back here. The reason you're a bit further up is because of your effects.
Yeah, most of my feedback is just reiterating what's been said. The mix is reasonably low, slightly inconsistent. There are some accuracy issues in the rap section. This is something I experienced actually when I synced this all the way back in God knows when, like 2016 or something. The trick to syncing vocals is you want to match your guns up to the spoken syllables, because that is what takes your focus in a lyrical section. Is the syllables are what your brain latches onto, so you want to hit those exactly. It's a lot harder than just hitting like a kick drum or something, because you can't explicitly identify them from the waveform. It's something that takes a trained ear to recognize rather than just lining it up on a waveform. Pardon me. as Blue commented on, the presentation is good, but the fundamentals is what's holding it back. Now, I disagree with her point on the CC and the lack thereof being an issue. It's not so much important for me, more that the presentation is good, which it is. CC I always view as kind of just like garnishing on like a cake or something. It's nice to have, but if it's not there, it generally doesn't hold back from anything. And generally speaking, presentation effects are surface level things that help the viewing experience. If the fundamentals are bad, at the end of the day, you have a cake that looks good but tastes terrible. So just polish up a few things on your fundamentals and the sound side of things, and you'll have a very, very solid and competent entry.
All right, so with that, we now move on to 44th place with a grand total of 39 points. We do have we got Penguin. Penguin with the ups. I think those are arrow signs or whatever. But anyways, going on to Penguin's entry. In the beginning, I kind of thought, like, I was thinking to myself, why is he so far down? Like, I thought he'd be a little bit higher than this. But then it kind of hit me where I think that the big problem with this sync was not really the consistency of this sync, at least for me. The focus of this sync was there was just a lack of variety. Like, there wasn't really a lot of guns being used, considering this was a multi-game gun sync, and then having, like, a good 85% of it, Black Ops 3. It was just, you see a lot of the same guns kind of over and over again, you know, where I feel like there could have been more guns to use that could have, like, changed the landscape of the sync. And that's really the only comment that I have. Blue?
Okay, I'm a little skeptical about the choice of weapons in the Sky Fracture part, because when you do like the quick jabs and shit, you use sprays, but you're supposed to use the sprays for the synths, and you have to use like just weapon shots individually for like the normal thing, because if you use sprays for everything, it just all just clutters up and it just all sounds the same, and the rest was really well done, but I was one of the people who gave you a little of a higher score than most of the other judges. But I thought it was pretty well done. You had good effects. In the Black Ops 3 part, you had a great choice of weapons. You gets a thumbs up for me.
In terms of this sync, it's quite average across the board. The mix is a bit high for my taste. In the closing section, you have a rendering error, which you should have picked up in a proof viewing. However, the highlight for this, for me, which actually brought the points back, is the closing section on Defy by Honeycomb Bear, which I have stolen, and it's now in my music playlist. It was really the highlight of this sync. It's what really brought back my score. Because it was just well done. The mix was slightly low, but it was very well produced. And I think this kind of harks back to just kind of a lot of people seem to get the impression that, I'm just going to do some really fast and aggressive dubstep or something. And if you actually just take it back a notch and do something a bit more melodic, something a bit more slow-paced, you can actually create something that is incredibly well produced and incredibly competent. It's just, it requires a certain confidence to pull that off. And the closing section of this really did it for me. It was just well done and just worked very well.
Oh no, and keep in mind, for those that are, like, they may seem lower on the leaderboard and think they could be higher, just to keep in mind that this competition is
it was tight.
It's a tight competition. Like, just looking through the places 44 through 40th, the difference is only is less than a point. And then just getting all the way back up to like the top 24, it's only like 10, 15 points. So it's you guys did an awesome job. Like, just so I mean, I feel like I'm gonna repeat this again in the later stages of the results here, but Penguin, you did a really good job with this sync, and nothing to take away from what you've done. And just saying, this is a really hard competition, and you got to be at your best when making syncs like this, because even small, tiny little mistakes could put you below that top 24. So, but I'm gonna say that I sync. Well done, Penguin, and just fix up your variety a little bit and touch up the audio mastering, and you'll be in good shape. So with that, we're gonna move on to 43rd place with a total of 39.2 points. We have Ruzi. Is it Ruzi Dong? I'm not sure.
I'm gonna pronounce it as a Gauzadong.
I mean,
you
you're
say-
Dutch, so yeah, you do that.
Yeah.
Wait, you said? Did you say Mao Zedong?
I'm gonna just pronounce it as a Gauzadong. I don't know.
Yeah, she's pronouncing it the Dutch way.
Yeah.
All right,
because
well-
fuck accents.
Mr. Dong, we'll call him, I suppose. We'll guess
Mr. Dong.
Mr. Dong, yes. So he decided to do the song "Monster" by Termite, which is I believe it's a classic
Teminite.
song.
It's not
it's-
Termite. It's Teminite.
Oh, it's Teminite. Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. Here comes the memes of me fucking up names again. So.
I mean, you're terrible for it, Escape. Christ.
Yeah, I know. No, I didn't see. I didn't know there was no R. I didn't see that.
Oh, I've
But-
made that mistake, don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. Anyways, I was gonna going on to the sync. He decided to do multiple games put into the song, and decided to use games like Battlefield and Advanced Warfare was in there, and he once again tried to do another. We see another example of one of those guys jumping around games, and I will say though, it was a lot smoother jumping through the games and stuff. It wasn't like really obnoxious, in my opinion, at least in the first drop. This is there would be other syncs that would jump through games much more obnoxiously, and it'd be a lot harder to kind of
Follow.
and keep up with the sync. Yes. And although I have to say, I kind of did like this sync. I kind of liked it. The audio was pretty decent throughout, at least the first half of the sync for sure. Although the only few complaints I'd have with the sync would be the Battlefield mastering in the beginning and a little bit in the middle could be refined just a little bit better. And maybe some weapons choices are a tad bit questionable, but other than that, I actually kind of like this sync.
Oh no, I actually like this. Yeah. Is it my turn?
Yes, it is your turn.
Epic. It was cool. I like the choice of weapons. I absolutely adore the song. I'm actually planning on doing a collab on this song with a few singers and lyricers because I love it so much. So you also used a few of my packs, so that gave you extra uwu points. Not that they count in or anything.
What points did you call them?
Uwu points.
How nice.
Get in the bin.
Continue.
The uwu dumpster. The audio was quite good, although you missed some beats, like in the Moomaton section where you did the Infinite Warfare part in the middle of the sync. You kind of like didn't sync the boomer, you only did the kick. The effects were cool. At some points I wish the mix was a bit higher. There was one drawback for me with this sync, and it was that you copy-pasted the first drop on the second drop, on the second half of the song, because the second drop is what I like the most about this song, and that really pains me. So that, yeah. But the sync itself was really good, so thumbs up.
Yeah, just to continue on from where Blue left off, this is a solid entry. A lot of the theme for this year is not many of the syncs were like super fantastic. A lot of them were just solid and well put together. So the actual spread of marks isn't that high. This sync itself was the mix was slightly low, slightly inconsistent on the low. Generally, it was generally the mix was consistent, albeit low. One thing that really does this sync a service is the effects you use are very, very frantic. However, unlike a lot of really frantic effects, it flows very, very well between clips, even though it's very like whap, 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 left, right, up, down, in, out. It flows very well and adds a lot to the actual feel of the sync. So that's definitely doing you a service here. But it is definitely the mix and the audio end of things that is doing you a disservice.
Epic.
Oh, we're moving on. Okay. Sorry, I guess moment of silence there because I almost fell asleep a minute. But with that, we move on now to 42nd place with a grand total of 39.4. And like I said, these scores are extremely close. Just keep in mind, we're still in 39. There's like 5 people who finished with 39 in their score. It's crazy. But in 42nd place with 39.4 points, we have Killer Sinks. Also, a little side note, this video was blocked worldwide, so there is a link to go watch this.
Yeah, and I know why, because I've also synced this song and had exactly the same problem. It's a pain in the ass.
And that's a big old rip. Honestly, though, I thought he got blocked because he used the Avengers clip at first. I thought that's why.
It's the song.
Copyright is pretty nasty, not gonna lie.
Yeah, copyright's a bitch. We'll just say that. So press F to pay respects for Killer Sinks. But anyways, as we go through this sync, or at least the reviewing of this sync, generic Thanos intro from Avengers Infinity War, I believe it was, right? Yeah, it was Infinity War. And it was kind of cool how he transitioned out of that into the Overwatch sync. And the beginning of the sync was extremely strong. I actually liked how he used the was it the Bastion, the character's name from Overwatch?
Bastion, and it's my pack.
Bastion, okay. And it's your pack. Ah, okay.
It's my pack, and I love him for using it.
He did a really good job on that in the beginning, though. That was really what caught my eye in the beginning of this sync, with the interesting effects usage, the TV scratch, I believe it was. Also, with the okay, and with he used the I'm sorry, I drew a blank. I'm gonna have to start that over. I'm sorry. Just cut this out.
That's fine.
I fell asleep. I was gonna say, start me off from here, because
Yeah. I don't have
Okay.
fucking hundreds of gigabytes, so please keep going.
I know. So finishing 42nd with a grand total of 39.4 points, we have Killer Sinks. He did his video did get blocked worldwide, but there will be a link to go watch it. And Alex had the same problem because he used this song before in one of his syncs. But we do see the generic Thanos intro in the beginning. It transitions into the actual sync, which transitions into the Bastion sounds, which was actually a really cool addition to this sync, and actually probably one of my favorite parts of this sync in particular. And the sounds seem to fit really well with that. And he did some really cool topography. The topography was very nicely done. And the drop was pretty sick. Really cool color correction usage there when he used kind of like how the EM1, you know, like when you change the colors and stuff, that was kind of cool. But I just thought it was a really nice sync overall, but just a little short for my taste.
Okay.
Blue?
It is clear to see that this sync was pretty rushed. I love your syncs, man, but for me, it didn't quite cut it compared to the other syncs. The song transitions are a tad sloppy, and the mix was not too low or too high. It just felt a bit, it just felt a bit dirty. What I most of the time do to get my mix clean is that I crossfade once I do like a shot or something, just so it sounds clean and you don't have sounds of whooshing air or stuff. I absolutely love the meme. That was a good thing, and the effects were on point. So, that was basically my criticism. Read.
Alex?
In terms of this sync, my feedback is the mix is very high and there is a lot of clipping. The transitions are, more specifically, the transition between the two songs is very sudden and jarring. What you want to do is want to make it a bit more, how to phrase this, you don't want it to be very sudden. You want to kind of it to fade one into the other. So take the bridge and then transition that in. Don't just end a chorus and then go straight into a build-up or a bridge of another song like you did. That just kind of took me really jarring. I'd like for there to be a bit more flow between both songs. I can comment on the song choice. Very good song choice. Juice's is personal favorite track of mine, and it's nice to see it rear its head in this competition.
Yeah, I definitely like the song. That was definitely one of the big things that kind of set this sync apart from others. And it was some really good works, Killer Syncs. Keep it up. This is a very solid sync. So nice job. And we're going to move on to 41st place. And we got Mr. D. Ejan finishing 41st with his I Love You Laxi entry, which is actually another competitor in this competition. So we got some love running in the competition right about now.
We got some oohs.
Yes, we do. So with that, I'll go through the generic kind of part of this sync, or at least a generic way of going through it. In the intro, he decided to use some, or he decided to do Rainbow Six Siege in the beginning and then transition into multiple games, including Advanced Warfare, Doom 2, and a bunch of other games, which was very nice. And I do have to say the audio mastering was clear and concise. You could hear the weapons being used for the Rainbow Six Siege part, which is definitely, for me, it's definitely nice to see that and hear it, because it's hard to have for Rainbow Six Siege syncs. I've noticed that a lot of people have trouble mastering Rainbow Six weapons correctly, so you can barely hear them. But in this sync, you can distinctively hear the different weapons in Rainbow Six, which was definitely nice. And I like the split screen effect that he used. That was definitely a really cool addition to it. The sounds were definitely on point, at least for my taste. And then he did some nice topography at the, let's see, the 47-second marker. Yeah, that was some really nice topography usage there. And I just have to say, solid sync throughout. I kind of liked it. Other than maybe the Doom 2 part. I would say, if you're going to use Doom, make sure you choose the correct weapons for Doom 2. But other than that small little thing, for me, I just thought it was a really nice sync. Blue?
Okay, oh god, it started off so well, but then at the drop it just went sloppy. It's in the beginning, the audio mastering the Rainbow Six Siege part, class. It was just good. You start off with Deep in the Night, good song, absolutely favorite of mine. Then you go into the build up, still good around there. But then you go into the Juices part, and that's where you start going. That's where it starts getting bad, proportionately. Your sprays, you gotta know when to cut them off. They kind of go on for too long, which makes the synths which you're syncing on the growls just sound sloppy and dragged out further than they're supposed to be. The choice of weapons was pretty good, but when you go to the Advanced Warfare part, when you start using them, the Blunderbuss and the Moors, the Blunderbuss is pretty loud compared to the synths that you're syncing, but yeah, that's basically the only bad thing I gotta say about the audio, and the visuals were just good. I like them. That's my criticism.
Okay.
In terms of what I picked up on this, generally the mix is slightly inconsistent and overall quite high. One thing that I will comment on, aside from the fact that it's a solid entry, is that one of the disadvantages of syncing a song, I've done personally, is that I'm very familiar with all of the intricacies of it. Now, of course, this is just an innate bias that I have because I have done it. But a lot of things do stand out to me a lot more, considering that I'm very familiar with this. And there are just a few questionable choices of weaponry that are you're neglecting slight nuances in the actual song that I just can't ignore. It scored a very respectable 50th percentile mark, so slap bang in the middle of the marking distribution. So don't let that hold you back. It was a solid entry. But unfortunately, in this competition, there were a lot of solid entries. So it's definitely going to be one of those things that you need to produce something that's going to be a cut above the rest to stand out and get some headway in this competition.
I agree. I could not agree with that more. Where you gotta put in your best into this competition, and I do have to say this was a great entry and very solid and some very nice work. But if you want to get into that top 24 and compete with the best, you got to go above and beyond that comfort zone and go make it happen. That's all I can really say with that. Finishing in 40th place with a total of 39.9 points. We do have Easy Sinks, also known as Ducky the Zombie, and I do want to mention this is the guy I actually did my first ever Gunsync collab with. Like this guy is absolutely awesome. I love this guy, and he decided to do a CS:GO Gunsync, and considering that CS:GO is one of those games that not many people sync anymore. It's not as I haven't seen many people sync it in quite some time. But anyways, on to the criticism of the sync. I do like the effects that he used in this. There was a lot of effects, and Easy Sinks is very well known for using lots of different effects. And for his CS:GO syncs, it seems to work really well, at least for my taste. And not to mention, I also like the song choices, especially the song choice that transitions into I think it was his second song, or I forget which song it was, but it was at the 23-second marker. Okay, and as you're checking, I do love how he flips through how the sky instinctively, and the color correction is really nice. I do also like the effect of the earth in the background. That is really cool. I do like that. It's definitely pretty distinctive in terms of the scenery, and especially at the 52-second marker when he does the zoom in, zoom out, which is really smooth and really nice. And I just have to say, once again, another very solid sync. Just the only thing I'd say is like maybe make it stand out a little bit more. But other than that, this was a great sync. Blue?
This actually was one of my higher scoring syncs. Got a 7.8 from me.
Really?
Yeah. I actually really like this sync. The song he transitions into, which you mean, is actually Too Late Fearless, which is an NCS song. This sync was just good. It looks good. CC is maybe a bit aggressive, but I like that. So that's why he got a higher score in. Choice of weapons was good. Used new sounds for CSGO, which is also really good because not a lot of people can actually sync properly with the new sounds. Choice of weapons is amazing. You even put in the Silent song, which I really liked. Silent the Darkness. So that also made me really happy. This sync made my day. So, well, kind of sad to see it end up here.
To run through like my comments, the mix is inconsistent, insanely high, and clipping distortion is absolutely rife throughout the sync. In terms of the actual stylistic choices, the way that you present this, the really aggressive visual style you use, it works very, very well, flows very well, and adds a lot to the sync. The visual end is fantastic. The main thing that really holds this back is the mix. It's just very, very high. One thing that I also picked up on, which normally I don't, have a go at this because a lot of people that do this, of course, they do it for a hobby on their home computers, and sometimes people compress videos and the like to upload it because they don't have enough bandwidth, or they render it at a slightly lower resolution to save on rendering time and power. But the video compression that you use on this is very extreme, to the point that it really does hold back the visual quality of the sync. And normally this doesn't bother me because of reasons I've just discussed, but the video compression you used was very, very aggressive. Just have a slightly higher bit rate, or use a better compression ratio to eke out as much quality as you can from your limited bit rate.
Epic.
Well said, well said, well said. And with that, we move on to 39th place with a grand total of 40.01 points. We have BCL Sinks, who I was rooting for him to get into the next round, and I was hoping he would make it, but he just missing the cutoff once again. But I do have to say that I really loved his sync compared to, like, as we look through BCL's progression in this competition. I believe he started in season 3, if I remember correctly. And BCL's been getting better and better and better and better as time goes on. And this sync shows exactly why progression and practice really comes in handy. And he has made a pretty nice, solid sync, in my opinion. And on a song that wasn't really used too much in this competition. Although, I will say, maybe focus on balancing the audio, just teeny bits and tads here and there. Especially when it came to, I think it was the Battlefield 1 part, if I remember correctly. When the audio wasn't really the best that it could be. And I do think that the consistency of the sync could be a little bit better. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty nice, well done sync. Blue?
Battlefield 1, where the fuck did you say Battlefield 1?
Is it Battlefield 1? Was it Battlefield 1 or I forget which game?
The games I can see are Black Ops 3, more Black Ops 3, Modern Warfare 2, World War 2.
Oh, it was World War II. That was the one. Okay, I'm retarded. I'm sorry. It was World War. I thought it was Battlefield 1 for a minute because the shotgun and the small pistol. Never mind. No, it's that my mistake, BCL. That was the Call of Duty World War II clips is what I was referring to. Apologies.
Cue my coughing. I got to cough real quick. Okay, I'm fine.
Yeah, go ahead, Boo.
In the beginning, you start over the Happy Hardcore song. I really like that, but well, as soon as you got out, after you got out of the intro, the Happy Hardcore song, you go into a Spaghetti song. Was it like Slander Superhuman Spaghetti remix? Yes, it is. Well, the song choices are pretty good, although I would like to hear some more of a lot of the songs that you did sing. Some of the choice weapons were great. The audio mastering was a bit inconsistent in places. You also synced heavy bass design. Really happy about that one. Your effects were really good. I really love your CC. It feels nice and cozy. I don't know how CC can be nice and cozy, but that's.
I was just about to ask that myself, but continue.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the things that comes down to audio mastering a bit inconsistent, but the effects were really good and the song choices really made me happy. So yeah.
My feedback is a bit more concise. The main thing that stood out for me is the song transitions in this sync are quite not quite jarring, very jarring. They're very sudden, very abrupt, and they don't flow very well. In one of the Black Ops 3 sections, the video in general is just a tad choppy. That's something that should just be ironed out. But the main highlight of the sync for me was the when you started using that tack insertion. That just fits the sound design of that section just so damn good. It's really the highlight of this for me.
Epic. Am I having to say epic every time, like?
No, you don't have to, but I was just thinking about what to say next. But anyways, very nice entry, Mr. BCL, and nicely done. So with that, moving on to 38th place with a grand total of 42.3 points. We have Camilla. Is it Saichi Camilla?
Saichi Camilla, I guess.
Saichi Camilla? Okay. Well, with that, we're at Camilla's sync, who decided to sync, I believe that, was that Tomb Raider in the beginning? Or what game is that? Kind of looks like Tomb Raider.
Let me see.
At least in the first 22 seconds around there.
Yeah, I think it is Tomb Raider.
Yeah, that was that was definitely nice that he
It's definitely
added a Yeah, that was definitely interesting that Tomb Raider was added into this. Although I'm gonna say the audio was kind of not really mastered that great in that part, where the first 30 seconds of the sync, it felt like the first 35 seconds of this video or so there wasn't really a sync in that beginning, where like almost 35% of the video already was just kind of cut. But what was really amazing about the sync was the second half of the sync following the drop. The drop was just absolutely amazing. And the Modern Warfare 3 part was absolutely astonishing, at least to... But like I said, the main reason why this score wasn't higher, at least in my opinion, was really the first 35 seconds was just kind of really bland. And it could turn a viewer away from the epic second half of the sync if you don't make your first half just as good as the second half. Blue?
Yes. Not my type of song. Well, it actually kind of is. Just the beginning part isn't my type of song, but it was pretty well synced. The big problem is that it just takes too long to get off the ground. In the way that it takes too long for it to actually pick up the pace and actually like start like hammering into like, well, the good parts. The audio mastering was pretty decent in the beginning. I guess you threw on like a filter or some sort on there, because the guns sound like they are like underwater, so that's probably like a reverb effect or something. No, not a reverb effect, it's another effect. But well, it was just a pretty average sync which didn't pick up the pace fast enough. And it was a bit, and the CC was a bit dark. Couldn't see the guns half of the time.
My feedback on this is the mix is inconsistent. There is a fair bit of clipping distortion here and there. However, the actual technical skill in this sync is quite good. It's fast and furious, but everything is what's the word I'm looking for? You can hear everything, and everything is distinct. It doesn't blur into one. You've set this up so that each note is audible and is distinct from the next one, which is definitely one of the hallmarks of someone that is paying just that extra level of attention to what they're doing. I think the main thing that holds this back for me really is just the length. It is quite short. It's only 1 minute 38. I would have liked to see that up to about 2.5, 3 minutes.
Yeah, and
particularly something that's 2.5, 3 minutes of this quality would definitely score a higher mark.
Yeah, and it would also take away from the, like, it felt like it was just like a minute if you subtract the first 35 seconds.
Yeah,
then it's like then it's like 1 minute. Like the 1 minute 30 seconds would work if the minute 30 seconds was just like the second half, you know, or like if you know what I mean. But other than that, very awesome sync, Camilla. You should be proud of your sync. You did well. And with that, we move on to 37th place. We have the Russian seeker, Serious Show, who is making his first appearance in this competition this year. And he decided to do an Overwatch sync and then mix in some CSGO. With that, we had he used the song "Flowering Nights" and also what was it called?
Megalovania.
Megalovania in the second song. So. Like I guess so.
Trust me, my life is one bad time.
So moving on to the actual sync itself, I do like the effects that Serious Show used in the Overwatch segment of this, like where there was like the little placements of guns in lots of locations, and it was definitely interesting the way it was shaped compared to how like Jarail would do his in season 4 and like, or season 4 or season 3, it was one of the two. And then it was I just like the effects. They're really cool how different they were in terms of the placements. Like they looked like triangles, which is kind of cool. And the sounds were pretty distinct throughout. And I would say that there was certain areas where certain weapons do not really fit in that part of this song, at least for the Overwatch part. But then when we transitioned to the CSGO part, I thought the CSGO part was pretty solid all the way through. I don't really have much complaints about the CS:GO part. Blue?
Okay, I actually really like the topography in the sync, especially in the Overwatch part, because it was different from what we're used to seeing. Audio mastering was... I want to believe that you did what you wanted, like put the guns that low so you can put more guns at the same time. But it just doesn't work quite in the way that you want it to work. Because everything just ends up sounding cluttered, and if you don't master them well enough, they start to clip, and that is really not what you want. What I wrote down for the sync is that it was a great idea, but it was a decent execution. The song choices were pretty memey, but I absolutely love them because, well, you sync them in the way that you want them to sync them. That is clear. I can clearly see that you did it in the way that you wanted it to end up like. But that how it did turn out, well, some choice of weapons didn't really fit, and that really held you back. CC and effects were really good, but yeah, the audio, because of the choice of weapons, really held you back.
My comments on this was, now I'm going to go slightly against what was discussed. The presentation in the intro is, in the first half of Flowering Nights, is very unique. It's very well presented. The transition to Megalovania is a bit sudden, but the main thing I'm going to utterly rail you on, and this is one sync that just really irks me in a bad way, is in your Flowering Night section, there were huge accuracy issues, particularly with like Zenyatta's orbs and the like. It's a fundamental thing that you should have down by now, and I was really disappointed when I saw some of these errors creep through. Also, in the second half, where you go into Megalovania and you switch it to CSGO, it definitely picks up in quality in both the mix and the actual sync itself. But the thing that really ticks me off again in this, which is another fundamental thing, is when you started using the UMP on that melody at around about, when was it? Around about 2:15 odd. You are completely ignorant of every single pitch change, and that just screams lazy to me. It really does irk me when someone does that and just puts the same thing for a completely different pitched note. It's just one of those things that you really need to work on, put a bit more time into syncing that particular section. But the rest of the CSGO section was quite solid, which upped the mark slightly in my department.
Yeah, I definitely like the CS:GO part more than the Overwatch part, for sure. So I would say focus more on the Overwatch part, and if you're going to do Overwatch, make sure everything's in tune and everything is balanced and the accuracy is good to go. And then, so like, look at your CS:GO part when you're editing the Overwatch part and see what you did well on the CS:GO part and apply that to the Overwatch. So that's what that would be my main thing to reinforce what Nerdbox is saying. So it's that. With that, we move on to 36th place. We have Mr. Creepa XX with a total of 44.5 points, and apparently changes the YouTube name to ZEL now. So Zell. So I'll have to call him Zell following this video, but for now I'm gonna keep calling him Mr. Creepa, just like his name originally was. He did the song Change, and he did a Modern Warfare 3 sync, which is it's kind of nice to see a different Modern Warfare 3 pack being used. Like that was definitely I mean, it's one of the little things that was like a little bit of a positive. Not that really impacts the point so much, the pack that you choose, but it was just different, and it was fresh. It was nostalgic, you could say, in a way, and fresh. But I will say the beginning was nice and average. Good reload sounds, good sounds used throughout, and when we get into the actual drop itself, well, actually, there was a drop. Okay, 130. The spray sounds maybe make them a little bit more distinctive, a little bit. and the random like clips of the hammer kind of like threw the pace off of the sync a little bit. But other than that, I don't really have much to complain about this sync. Blue?
Okay, in my opinion, this is the pinnacle. This is like the epitome of what we mean with like a really what most of the submissions in this competition are, because this is a very average sync. It is average but a really solid sync. It was expertly synced. The song was beautiful. I really like the song. The vocals on this song were really good. It picked up quite fast. I really like that. And the drop, well, it was really like it was just well synced. The sprays all just fit, and the reloads all fit. One of the drawbacks on the sync is that it was 30 FPS, and it was quite short. If you had done like the entire song and like maybe had made it like 3 minutes or something like that, because that's what most songs are. Well, that's the length for most songs. I would have given you like a fifth of a decibel more, like 5 decibel points more. But yeah, I enjoyed the sync. This was a good sync.
Yeah, in terms of like my comments on this, one thing that really stood out to me, which is one of these things that just irks me slightly, is your clip cutting is quite poor. You've got periods of silence before your clips, and it quite suddenly drops off to silence, and then the next note hits. You should cut them directly when the waveform shows the impact of the gun, and then fade out the previous clip to make the next clip hit harder. The main thing that irked me is there was a small percussion switch that was completely ignored, and the mix overall is quite high in the chorus. But aside from that, quite a solid entry.
Epic.
And with that, we move on from Mr. Creepa's solid entry to Hoang, Music Gamer, who finished 35th place with a total of 45.5 points. And once again, and let's keep this. This was another one of those syncs that was submitted super early in the poll, or in the submission polls and all of that. And he decided to use the song Kasai, which is probably Kasai, which was. It's honestly one of my favorite songs now. Like it's such a good song, but like it's a difficult song where if you sync it right, it is beautiful. And this is one of those instances where this song was synced pretty well, but I feel like there could have been more to it in a way, at least when it came to the drop, because the beginning was strong, where you get the waving hello motion and the sword and Genji's sword, and the weapons in the beginting were used very well. Now this was gonna be geared up to be probably one of my favorite syncs, and then when the drop came, it felt like it felt a little lazy to me. Didn't feel like, I mean, it was still solid, it was still good, but I just think that there could have been another weapon used, or there could have been different weapons used for different areas, and it felt like Hoang ran out of weapons to use for Overwatch on this particular section. Blue?
Well, it was. This is actually one of the main. I'm gonna start off with the negatives of the sync. Crunchy syncing sounds. The distortion. There was a lot of distortion in this sync. Especially at the drop. I do like it when a sync is a bit crunchy. Most judges don't like that, but I quite like it. But this was a bit too much. It sounded. The choice of weapons was good, but everything, because the clipping distortion is so high, it just kind of melts into the same sound. That just makes it. That just really draws it back. I really like your choice of weapons though. That was a big plus. yeah, that's basically my feedback on this one.
Yeah, basically everything I was going to say has already been said already. The mix is quite high. There's a lot of clipping distortion. Just, a few things that I wish that would have just been ironed out, particularly in the drop. There is a bit of inconsistency. So, for example, Zarya's laser is way too quiet. But pretty much my comments have been said already.
And with that, we move on to the next guy. But before we do, I just wanted to say, Hoang, that was a really cool song choice, and I really like the sync. Just touch it up on the drop, and it'll be much better going into the next time around. So we're in the top 34 now, with finishing at 34th with a total of 45.7 points. We have Lightning Bolt, and believe it or not, this sinker from South Africa, last was in this competition in season 2, so he is making his return in season 5 3 years later, and he hasn't uploaded a sync before that, so before his return, so it was actually kind of cool to see him return in this competition. So welcome back, Lightning Bolt, glad to have you back. But with that, we do have some Black Ops 1 syncing in the beginning, then he transitions, does a bright effect to transition to Black Ops 3, and also transition back into Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare, as well as I believe that's Borderlands 2 that he used at one point. I think that was Borderlands. I'm not sure. I can't tell what game that is at 220.
220.
Yeah, I cannot tell what game that is. And
yeah, that's Borderlands 2, standing on top of the keep on Tiny Tina's DLC.
Ah, okay. That's cool. But it was cool that he added the Borderlands 2 and make add a little variety into it. So I have to say the variety was good for a multi-game gun sync. Certain weapons choices did not really fit in especially in the beginning with the silenced pistol, and also in the Borderlands 2, maybe you could have picked better weapons. But personally think that the big issue for this sync was a little bit of consistency issues. Not that it was terrible, but could have been a little bit more consistent throughout. But in regards to the weapons choices, was definitely probably the biggest issue with this one. Blue?
Okay. Some of the gun sounds were barely audible compared to others. I really like your choice of effects, though. Your CC was really, really nice. I do like when people kind of fuck around with with like colors and the hue and such. It looks really it really stood out, and I really like that. Yeah, just especially in the Advanced Warfare part, and in the Borderlands part. That's where I barely could hear the guns. It's just, it had a lot of potential, but it just didn't live up to what I hoped it would be. I'm sorry, man.
I don't have many comments on this entry. The mix was a bit inconsistent. Mixing some of the drops is a tad low, but aside from that, it's solid all round.
And that was it?
Yep.
That's like the shortest amount of comments I've ever heard you say, actually.
Okay, can we have like a moment of silence for the next one?
All right, yeah. As we read out the next name here, I Blue's crying, I can tell. But finishing in 33rd place with a total of 46.2 points, we have the Kazi boy from Kazakhstan. We have Shadow Gamer, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty sad upon hearing this news, because Shadow Gamer was the finalist and finished 5th place in last year's competition, and now, unfortunately, he will not be making it to the next round. Him and his Ricardo Gunsync will be unfortunately eliminated. But I do have to say, this was a very solid sync. It's not that the sync was really bad, but there was just Honestly, I don't know what to say. That was really bad about this, honestly, other than maybe like slight audio improvements in certain areas, but it was still really good. Like, and also not to mention the Blue Leaf pitch changed sounds in the 140 marker were absolute headbangers as well. Not to mention, but maybe the one comment I do have, Shadow, maybe Ricardo is a little bit too distracting. I'm not sure if that was the intent of the piece, but
yeah, I've actually got a comment in my notes on that.
Ricardo might be a little bit too distracting for some of the viewers to pay attention to the actual sync itself. I'll leave that up to Blue and Alex or Nerdbox to mention here. So Blue, what do you think about this?
I am distressed gay sounds. Let's go with my notes first, okay? Ricardo!
Sounds about right.
I am using a lot of O's with Ricardo, so that's why I like screaming like that. I love the sync, although the mastering does need minor work. Yeah. Especially when you do like the Martin Garrix song in CSGO. Yeah, the sprays weren't loud enough. Yeah, I don't know why this sync is not up there, because I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, it scored really high for me, so I am really surprised to see it at this, well, down here. Yeah, I'm just really sad that, well, I high hopes for you, man. I hope to see you back next year, so, well, you get that big comeback, boy.
Yeah, like my comments on this was the mix is slightly inconsistent, it's slightly low in places, it's high in others, but generally is alright. Main thing that irked me is some of the transitions are very jarring. Some of the like memes and stuff halfway through were kind of like they added a bit of spice to the mix, but it didn't really pull it back for me. The last section, in my opinion, was very rough around the edges, like very, very rough around the edges. The main thing, as discussed, was Milo's man-ass is quite distracting and not in a good way.
I quite liked it, actually. It's there for most of the thing. It doesn't add anything. It's like, if you used it as just like a piss take meme like halfway through, yeah, it could have been quite funny. But it just being there doesn't add anything, and if anything, is just slightly distracting.
Yeah, it's a rest in peace for the Ricardo sync. Everyone press F to pay respects.
Can we have like 10
Yeah.
seconds
Shadow
of
Gamer.
silence? Can we get like 10 seconds
Yeah.
of silence?
You're not getting any silence from me, boy.
All right, well, we're gonna have to move on. Sorry, Shadow Gamer. Sorry, Ricardo. You will be missed.
Yeah.
All right, so 32nd place. We're moving on. We're halfway across the field now. We're at the halfway marker now. So we're starting at the top half of the leaderboard. Shivaru HD finishing with 46.5 points, and he decided to do I believe that's Modern Warfare 3. Yeah, that's Modern Warfare 3. Okay, that's what I thought. I do really like the song choice, even though like it sounds kind of odd to say, but I do like his song choice, and the sync was pretty solid for like throughout. I would say that maybe the sprays could be upped in volume just a tad, at least in the beginning. But it just felt like the weapons were just really smooth, really well sounded, really well throughout. I just thought that the sync itself was pretty solid. Just, I'd say minor changes to the sprays, and the sync would have been amazing. Blue?
This sync is like a really average sync. It starts off in black and white. Has like a small percussion loop. It kind of sets the tone for the rest of the song. The song choice is really odd. It doesn't have a lot of energy, but it flows really well. It's a contrast to what I see in most syncs, where like it's just It just bang, bang, bang. It just goes hard in. This one seems to focus more on the flow. This is on one side really help your score out and up it a bit, but at the same time, it does help hold you back. So it's kind of a double-edged.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the vibe, but it also held you back.
Yeah, in terms of like my commentary on this, the mix is slightly high and it clips in some places. But aside from that, it's a very solid entry. It's simple, it's clean, it's effective.
Yeah, very solid entry, Shivaru. And we hope to see you again in next year's competition. And really nice stuff. And let's keep this in mind. We're getting closer to that top 24 position. Whoever finishes 24th and above will be moving on to the next round, and we are closing in on that 24th position. So get ready to see who's actually going to be moving on to the next round as we read through these names. And finishing now in 31st with a total of 46.6 points, we have our Libyan entrant, High Octane Sinks, who decided to do what song is this? I feel like it's a common song.
It's actually like it's like the first fucking 2 minutes of the fucking mashup I did for the finals. He actually used like almost the same songs, except for when I used Deep in the Night, he used Vanessa Black. And he goes over into Bear Grylls and Sullivan King, and he goes into Anubis, which I
Fair
also did.
enough. And with anyways, going into High Octane Sinks' entry, I did like his I did like the beginning. The sprays definitely send a clear message that this song is gonna be, the sync is gonna be epic. And I believe that was an old pack from Tobzy, if I remember correctly. A really old pack.
Yes,
I could see the T on the weapons and all that, but I'm just gonna say that the sync was pretty cool and pretty amazing throughout. I do like the mortar usage. I believe that was at the 30-second marker, and the battlefield part was just really smooth for the most part, other than maybe a couple fixes in the beginning. But sounds are crisp, everything works, the sounds are good, and then transitioning over to the Modern Warfare 3 part, sprays were amazing. And I think he added some new fighting game or something at the 127 marker. I'm not sure what that game is, but I thought that was a really interesting addition to the to the sync, because I've definitely not seen that game. I haven't seen that game before. It's definitely new. It's definitely not familiar to me. And there was another game that he added into the 135 marker, which is definitely new. When then he also chroma keyed the Tempest into that game as well. So I just thought that the creativity of this sync and what he tried to add in was definitely there, and it definitely added points to the sync. But the only thing I'm gonna mention is like the CC in certain areas just doesn't really work as good. At least I'd say at the one. I'm not sure if 136 is where he added a CC or if that's just a game, or the CC at I believe it was 140, at least for a short bit. But I do have to say he just needs to do a couple bits of touching up on some of the syncs to make it a tad bit more consistent. He would have been right there at that top 24. But I'm going to say I love the game choices that were added in to make it distinctive and different, and trying different creative things. I like it. Blue.
Okay, so I am going to from now on I am going to call you the king of distortion, because you seem to implement distortion a lot into your things. you always do this, but funnily enough, I quite like it. It just adds that little bit of extra just extra punch to it. Like I said, not a lot of judges like it, but I quite like it. I also like your choice of games and weapons. This was an entry which I could really headbang to and just get into. Your weapon accuracy is also really good. Your effects were also really aggressive, but I really like them. This is just the pinnacle of what an aggressive sync is like. It's just mindless fun. It also, you even fucking use like the zombie screams, which we did last year as well, like at a certain part of the sync, which I really enjoyed. This was just mindless fun, and to a certain extent that got you this far, but because you were just having fun and just, you know, just making something out of it, which is just a fun thing and not really that I know you're going for it, but at the same time, it just feels like you're just having mindless fun. So I keep going around in circles, but yeah, this was just not really a performance thing, but more just a fun to watch thing.
Yeah, I am going to go completely against what my other two. What's the word I'm going to the two other judges here said. Is I'm impressed that this got this high. I thought this sync was a complete mess, and I'm going to slander both people here by saying they're both deaf, and not as a result of the not as a result of their judging skills, but by the fact that the clipping distortion in this damn sync is enough to blow my ears out. The mix is incredibly high, the clipping is rife, the CC is obnoxious, the entire thing is generally poorly produced. When you start using like it's like a 2D fighting game, the entire scene is completely blown out. It's just, when you then moved on to like the Black Ops 2 section on Hijacked, the mix is incredibly flat. It's not interesting. It's completely contrary to what you had before, probably because the mix is actually in an acceptable range. It's not completely blowing my ears out. But generally, I was incredibly disappointed with this sync, and it got a 20th percentile mark from me.
All right, then. And, yeah, I guess it's...
Maybe I've become that deaf because I kept listening to rhythm.
Probably.
Just maybe. So, with that, we're in the top 30 now. Finishing in 30th place with a grand total of 46.8 points. We do have Edgy Potato, who decided to do the Rob Gasser Taking Over song, which is I believe he did Advanced Warfare and a couple other games to add into the mix. Personally, I did like the mixing of this particular song, and although I will say that the EM1 sounds kind of just sound, they just kind of sound weird compared to what normal EM1 sounds are supposed to sound like at least in the very beginning of the sync. Then transitioning over to Black Ops 3 and the really nice topography. I did like that, and the weapons that were used, especially the revolver, and the sprays were pretty decent. Blue?
This sync was like, unlike last sync, where the High Octane made it fun in the way that it was cluttered and clustered as fuck. This sync is fun in the way that it's really well put together, and there was a lot of time into the effects. It was just nice to look at. The effects, the typography was really fun. He actually changed how the EM1 sounds, so it isn't as fucking unoriginal as it is, like when most people use it. The choice of weapons were not those that you would see like most of the time. Using the 5.7 as like a snare, and using like a frag grenade as the kick. It's just really original, and well, this was just a good sync. This was something I thoroughly enjoyed. Song choice was great as well.
Yeah, in terms of my comments on this, the mix is high, the typography itself is serviceable, all the other elements of this sync are generally quite solid, but one thing I did pick up on, which was a very, very nice attention to detail, is your use of audio effects. It's nice to see someone that's paying that extra bit of attention to exactly what they're doing, and then incorporating that into their sync.
So I do have to say, very nicely done, Mr. Edgy Potato, and you had a very good run. So with that, we move on to 29th place, which is Lexi, who finished with a 47.2 on the scoreboard, just finishing inside of the top 30. And he did a Rainbow Six Siege sync in the beginning, and then transitioned into some Modern Warfare 3, and added in a couple other games here and there. We had some Advanced Warfare, which I actually like the EM1 usage in that part. And then he transitioned into some Overwatch and started bouncing around through some other games and stuff. But overall, it was a pretty decent entry. I would say the Modern Warfare 3 part was probably my favorite part about this duration, especially with the sprays. Blue?
Okay, so this sync, the effects were on point. The audio could use some work. The mix was slightly low with some guns. Oh god, I voice cracked right there, sorry. The effects were really good. The little attention to the small S_shake, the song choices, the transition between games, like in the multi-game part where you did Jungle Fury and then Burn the City Down, was actually really well done, which is why it came a bit higher than most of the other things we've discussed so far. This was just... I like the sync. This was a good sync.
Yeah, to be honest, this sync was alright all round. Again, the audio could have done with a bit of a touch-up. I'd like to have seen some of the effects get just a slight bit of extra treatment as well. Some of them were a bit lower quality than others. But aside from that, the typography was definitely a take-home piece from this. Your typography was quite cool and quite unique.
And I believe that this is Laxi's first year in this competition as well. So very well done for Laxi's first run. And speaking of first runs, the man who finished in 28th, we actually had our first Korean syncer ever to compete in this competition, Mr. Bland Cube, finishing with 47.8.
To interject you, if you want to be pedantic, Jay is of Korean lineage.
Oh.
But carry on.
Okay, I was gonna say first Korean syncer living in Korea. There
we go.
That's better. Thank you, Alex, for your interjection there. But Mr. Blandcube finished 28th with a score of 47.8 points. He decided to do a triple mashup gun sync, as he called it. And he decided to do some Overwatch and add that in with the songs Diamonds, Carol of the Cartels, apparently, and For You, the Julius Dresig remix at the very end. And For You, for the record, is one of my favorite songs. At least the original one is really good. But I did like the sync overall. Maybe the sounds for the or I should say that the pitch changes for the Bastion were pretty decent. I would say maybe a little less obnoxious. I would say make them a little bit less obnoxious and lower them just a tiny tad, just a tiny tad, and it would make it a little bit better. The text itself, I'm not sure if it's just the editing software capabilities that you have or whatever it is. I'd say maybe like play around with the text just a little bit. You know, minor points are taken off for text. The main focus was the sync itself, but having better text and better topography would definitely help your score just a little bit, just to get you maybe a couple inches forward and all that. But I just have to say, overall sync, pretty decent, pretty nice, and the fact that you synced For You is really nice as well. Blue?
This was actually a sync I really like. I keep saying this, but this is a sync I actually quite enjoyed. But this time it was because of the choice of weapons. He had a choice of weapons that not a lot of people use. He used like the Tourbillon hammer when the turret is already upgraded, which is like interesting because most people like use it like when it makes the cling sound. But he just Use it when it doesn't make the clink sound anymore. He also used a lot of reloads in the Overwatch part. Well, it's all Overwatch, but in the first part he used a lot of reloads that not a lot of people use. Then in the second part, he starts going really fucking well with the pan crop shit, and he just goes from left to right with Reinhardt and Genji, just using the sword and the hammer, which I really like because it like adds a layer of aesthetic apart, and also sounds good, which is also a big plus. And it goes to the For You part, which is oh fuck, my PC just did a weird. And in the For You part, it just felt like a classic sync, but it had a little bit of more spice to it because it's a remix of the original. And well, the effects just were all around great, and the song transitions were also really well done, and the audio was also, well, really well done. I don't have much criticism for this because this was just, it either did everything really decent or everything really good. Box.
Yeah. In terms of like my comments on this sync didn't really impress me that much, in the fact that the mix is a tad low, it gets progressively higher and more imbalanced as the sync tends to go on. But in terms of just the presentation and the syncing, some fundamentals are a bit iffy in places like note choice and the like. I certainly don't agree with some of them. Your typography is simple, but it works, it's serviceable. But this sync just feels like it could use a lot more polish, and you'd have something with a lot more value to the watcher, and because of that, it just didn't really hold me or catch my interest that much.
All right.
So we now move on to 27th place. We do have the Half Beast finishing 27th with a score of 49.6, and once again, Half Beast just missing the cutoff line. Once again, he was actually really close to moving on last year, although he did technically move on last year because there was some individuals from the top 26 or 24 or whatnot that did drop out, so Half Beast was able to get into the second round technically. But once again, he missed. He's going to be missing the cutoff unless we do have some dropouts in the second round, which we all know there might be at least one or two. But going into Half Beast's sync, it was pretty solid. I did like his sync. Definitely a very, I would say, unique song compared to the rest of the competition. It was I forget I don't know the song name off the top of my head, but I believe it was I believe it's called it's called Luminous. That's the song name. Okay, it's a dubstep song. There we go. But jumping into the actual sync itself, it was I'd say pretty solid sync, but just felt like it was simple. I don't know, it didn't feel like he went above and beyond on this sync. It just felt like kind of like a simple entry just to try to get into the next round. Blue?
This sync will make you happy. That's literally what it's called. The song choice was really upbeat, so technically isn't lying. Let me get the entry right here so I can kind of like scroll through it so I can give some accurate advice that I go along the way. The effects were well done. The choice of guns were also well done. You did fading between some guns, which is really nice, so it kind of flows well. You also had a good topography in the way that you didn't make your side screens too big, and you added a nice little shadow to it. The effects were good. The audio mastering was good. You even used the fucking cinematic that I actually put into that pack. I really like this sync. This is just a fun to watch sync, a really nice viewing experience, focused sync. And the audio aspect was also really good. That's basically what I have to say about it.
Unfortunately, I tend to disagree with my colleague here. I wasn't particularly impressed with this sync. It's not that technically deep. So, for example, in the intro, you have kind of that like, plucky type of like piano over the top of everything that you tend to ignore. And when you do go into the chorus and you start hitting things, because the mix is low, it's quite hard to discern exactly what you're doing. So everything just kind of sounds a bit, not misplaced, but it's hard to identify what's actually hitting what because the mix is so low. And it generally doesn't translate into a good viewer experience, in my opinion.
And with that, that is Half Beasts' entry in 27th place. And as we move on to the 26th, we move on to position number 26. We are now at the 50-point marker. We have Joni Watt finishing with 50.7 points. He's the first person to break 50. And looking at his sync, once again, we do have another, say, solid sync with lot of good potential throughout this sync, and it is just again one of those examples of a relatively solid sync that had lots of really cool I think the weapons usage was also really nice in this one. The EM1 fit really well as like a nice like little like a support sound in the 28-second marker around there. And it actually sounded really nice. And then going into the 50-second marker of the sync, the sprays were pretty good. Although I'd say refine the sounds just a tad and it would have been even better. But overall, pretty solid sync. Good effects, good audio mastering, and it was pretty nice. Blue?
Okay, I have a few things to say about this thing. The pack mixing was good. However, when you go from a very dark pack to like a very light pack, which the CC was really dark, not gonna lie, you should really like brighten up your CC, because this really like, it's almost hard to see what's happening and hard to see the guns. Yeah, that's that. There was a criticism I have is that in the build-up, when you go to the NA-45 sniper rifle, you can hear that there is like a small percussion going on, apart from the snare, which you are obviously syncing, which you are completely ignoring, until, well, the SN6 and the TAC-19 come in. Then we go into the drop. And the effects are pretty good. I like how you like use the Galil and how you like zoom in with the HK21 Galil and stuff. The CC switch up, you do you switch to the CC, yes you do, but it's still really dark. But the CC switch up is nice because it means there is kind of a variation. The effects like the pan cropping and stuff, all very well done. You did add shadows, so that's like a shadow effect, which makes the little windows in the top corners look really good. Yeah, the audio mastering was also really good. Just epic effects, great mix. That's just what I have to say about it.
Yeah, my comments are that this sync all around was very, very competent. This was one of the higher scoring entries that I gave points to. The main thing that kind of stuck out for me in this sync is that there's a lot of very subtle attention to detail. So, for example, like on the ends of certain clips, you kind of like slow it down using, I believe, Twixtor or velocity modulation. But you slow it down and just hold that for just a split second longer. And things like that really do help the sync and help the viewing experience. The only real comment I have that's negative is the mix is a tad flat. It doesn't really, nothing really kind of springs out. That's not generally a bad thing or a good thing. It's just kind of in the middle. It's the main thing that kind of held us back from scoring even higher than it did. But aside from that, very, very competent entry. very solid performance.
Yeah, well done, Mr. Joni Watt. This was unfortunately he did make it into the second round this time, or last round, but this time I guess he will not be making it into the second round. And now finishing 25th place, and unfortunately there's always going to be that one guy that just misses the cutoff by 1 point. So press F to pay respects for this man, GMLX, who finished with 50.8 points. He missed the cutoff by about 2.5 points, something like that. It was something like that. But I do have to say, GM's submission was really solid. I really like this sync. I really like the sync that he did, especially. Although I would say maybe the only thing I'd complain about is the cinematics were a little bit long. It was a good quarter of the sync, or not a quarter, but a good good 15% of the sync. And at intro, I would say would include using the RW1, which if he cut maybe the song a little bit more properly and did if he started from the 39-second marker up to the 150 marker, he would have had a really, really solid, amazing sync. And honestly, the beginning is the only thing I have to complain about. Because other than that, just the sync itself was really smooth, and the sprays were really good. The Battlefield part was amazing. I really loved that. It was smooth. And then the Advanced Warfare part was really, really good too. Blue?
This is we're starting off with Said breaking down, in the Said remix of Breaking Down, just like the last competitor, Johnny Watt, also did. GMLX actually fucking syncs their percussion, which I talked about, how Johnny Watt didn't, when he goes into the build-up, which is really cool. Then at the drop, he actually switched up the song. And this is a good example of how, if you're not good at transitioning songs, how you can make a jarring song transition slightly better. He used a voice line from a game, and he used that to transition into a different drop, which is a cool way of doing it. We were going to Hell's Sun, which is pretty well synced in Battlefield 4. The sprays actually sound really well balanced with the reloads, which a lot of people have trouble with doing in Battlefield 4. CC is also really good in this part. Then we're switching to Advanced Warfare, and where he is actually doing Break Them by Arrow Cord and Anna Yvette. It's actually really well done. I also really like the CC on this part. I also like how he did the fade in with the mayhem at a certain point. Adds a little bit of flavor to it. You can see that he doesn't do a lot of effects with his syncs, but he really focuses on getting the basics down really good. And then he goes on for the last song. He does Warrior of the Night, which is a true classic. He also sings this one in Battlefield 4. This is what really shows that it's just a solid sync. It really mixes well. All the sounds go well together. He just has his priorities right when it comes to what's the most important part about my sync. What do I have to focus the most on? Because you can clearly see there's been put more effort into the audio than the visual aspect of the sync. Which, if he did put a little more effort into the visual without taking away from the audio, he may have gotten, he would have gotten into the winning bracket that would go to the next round.
My main comments on this was in the intro when you had the cinematics, the use of S_shake is always not a good sight to see. I love getting motion sick from watching a panning image of a multiplayer map. Aside from that, the transitions between songs were very abrupt and jarring. I disagree with Blue's comment on that it makes the transitions slightly better. All it does is it shifts the jarring transition half a second later. Fades and like fading two songs into each other in bridges is a far more effective way of doing it, or something which takes a decent span of time, like 5 seconds. Just cutting straight to another song is just completely jarring and completely throws me off every single time someone does it. The sync is it's slightly short, but that's a personal thing. But this actually scored a good amount of points. I assigned this on the higher end of the points bracket, because particularly in the last few sections you display a very good level of technical skill, particularly with the final battlefield section, which was outstanding.
So now, finishing in 24th place, and the first individual to move on to round number 2, we have Venus. And Venus's gun sync, he did the Tim Eismack remix. I believe Los Angeles is the name of the song here. And you can see there's a solid mixture of Black Ops 1, which is actually a really nice touch. I like that Black Ops 1's in the mix for sure. And then we do have some mixture of Black Ops 3, especially when it comes into the drop, and some pretty cool use of the assembly line effect, as I like to call it, and the rotating square. Obviously, this is a very similar effect to the once infamous rotating spear created by none other than Dr. Jaden himself, Season 3 Victor. But in regards to the sync, I thought it was like really clean, really nice. Pretty amazing to look at, especially from the drop point of view. When the drop would change tempos, the screen would rotate, and the sync would rotate, and it was just, I don't know, I really loved this sync. It was just really awesome all the way through. And then in the end, it wraps up with a little bit of, I believe, Modern Warfare 3, and they do like a really cool split effect, and awesome sync from Mr. Venus. And I have to say, this guy earned it. Moving on to the next round.
Yeah. So what I thought of a sync, it had some pretty good effects. The mastering could be better at times. The audio was a little off at certain points. Sometimes like some sounds were louder than others. Most of the time the mix was pretty low. Yeah. The main shining point of the sync was definitely the visual aspect.
I would tend to agree with you on that, where a lot of the focus on the sync is definitely on the visual, and the visuals are very clean. So my advice to you, Venus, would be balance out the audio and the visuals, and you sir, got yourself an amazing sync that would increase its score greatly. And that's exactly what Nerdbox said as well. He was saying that the mix is low and the chiptune intro is pretty cool, and the effects come across as just a tad tacky, but still pretty clean. And the reason we're talking about Nerdbox's comments is because he went to go do something. So hopefully he'll be back before we do before we wrap up this results video. But for now, we're just gonna have to carry on the show without him, at least for the time being. But now, moving on to 23rd place. Oh, by the way, Venus scored 53.3 points. That was Venus's final score, by the way. I forgot to mention that. But anyways, moving on to 23rd place. Finishing in 23rd with a total of 55.7 points. We have Mr. Mio Gu. And then Zhaju, I believe, is what that's pronounced in Chinese. Literally, I had to get an actual Chinese translator for this, because it was... it's kind of hard to pronounce his name, and knowing the memes of me not being able to pronounce names, it's yeah. Anyways, we're gonna move on to the actual sync itself before I meet myself once again. But I have to say, this sync was really impressive, and it was absolutely amazing to watch. Really fast, really furious, especially in the beginning. It really like sets the tone. The pace is really set in the beginning. And the topography is pretty decent and pretty cool. Really nice, clean effects. And pretty accurate all the way through. And I have to say, this sync really packed a punch. And I'm I was pretty happy with the result of this. Really awesome job, man.
Okay. Mr. Miyogu, I did my scores before while you had Miyogu in your name, so my feedback was basically, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but you have a great taste in music and your sync is pretty good. It needs some work in the audio department though. You know how like with your sprays you like fade them out with a crossfade? What I always tend to do is like do an AA12 trick, so it like really shows when you like end the spray, or you know when it just keeps going, because this just looks and sounds like it doesn't really agree with itself. Like the sprays keep going, but like the audio is being muffled at the end of like a spray at times. This especially shows in the advanced warfare department. That is around 102. But yeah, that is basically why my score for you went to a 7.2, or else I would have probably given it like a 7.6.
And with that, we also have a word from Alex. He said this sync came out of nowhere, all the way around, and Alex really liked this gun sync. So, like I said, I have to say, very impressive sync, and congratulations, Mr. Miyogu. You will be able to participate in round number 2. Which I wish you the best of luck in that second round. Finishing in 22nd with a grand total of 55.9 points, we have the Russian sinker. Is it Kida?
Kida, I think.
Kida. Okay, Kida. Apologies if I botched that. That's gonna be a meme again.
I pronounced it properly.
Yeah, but this guy decided to do the Falling in Love gun sync, which I have to say, it really surprised me how well this sync did. In regards to, I mean, it was a good sync. And for us to score this high on the leaderboard is definitely surprising for me. But in regards to the actual sync itself, I do really like the beginning of this sync, where obviously we got a different song in play now compared to the rest of the field. This song is vastly different. A little bit slower pace, but also at the same time it has some of that speed in there, a little bit. But in the beginning we see a lot of, I think it was just the throwing sounds that really set this sync apart from some of those other syncs, where the throwing sounds seem to fit really well in the beginning. I would argue it's a little bit repetitive, but at the same time, you made the most of that throwing sound because you were trying to use different throwing sounds for different, somewhat minor different beats, but I thought it was really cool. But as we progress throughout the rest of the sync, the drop, I could say maybe there would be parts that could be a tad bit more accurate, maybe, but it was just pretty solid all the way through. I really love this sync just because of how unique it really is. And also, Black Ops 1, not an easy game to sync. Definitely big points for that. At least if I were a judge. Blue?
Black Ops 1, nice! The choice of guns is really good. The effects are well placed when are needed, and so is the mastering. I really enjoyed this sync. I gave it an 8.7, which is on the higher end of, well, what I gave the syncs. That I really liked this game. Black Ops 1 was actually my first COD. I thoroughly enjoyed this sync. Like, the choice of weapons, it all just fit really well. Like the fucking pumping with the China leg. That was like a really great touch to like as a break with like at the drop. Even though the song was really slow, the accuracy and the choice of weapons really made up for it, and that's why I gave it such a high score, because you really like did everything with this song that you could do with it, and I really like that. Sometimes it's this is weird coming from me, but sometimes it's good if you step away from all the heavy songs and you just do something nice, and you just like properly execute it. Then well, then I'm more tempted to like give you a higher score, and then you're just doing a generic like really heavy song and you're just singing it decently. because I have been doing this like a lot. I've like done heavy songs just because they're heavy, and like I should also like try to do something like a little more on the soft side. Which is why I gave you a higher score.
Yeah, although I'm definitely gonna point out that accuracy was definitely probably the thing most prevalent with this sync. Where, and this is where I'm kind of surprised, where it's kind of high on the leaderboard. There was a lot of accuracy issues where certain like weapons did not hit the beat and stuff. But I will say that the second half of the song was really nice, and this is also coming from the words of Nerdbox. He says the UMP totally ignores pitch changes. Second half is significantly better than the first, and the mix is high in the chorus. And then there's also times when the mix is low as well. But he said the presentation was very nice. So big points there for sure. But going into the second round, focus on the accuracy, get the consistency down from first to second half, and you got yourself a good chance to potentially move on to the finale. And with that, we're going to move on to 21st place. And in 21st place with a total of 56 points, we have Thien GS, which his submission really, it was definitely on the longer side, but like for the 5 minutes 16 seconds that we implemented for, or that he implemented for this sync, it was definitely, in my opinion, I thought it was a sync that really flowed all the way through, and as in like it was consistent. Because I remember watching the sync first time around, and it was really good build up. Like you get the speed starting off a little slow, but gradually getting faster and faster and faster as time goes on. And it was definitely one of those pieces that just really stood out to me. And especially when we get into the drop, I will say that the weapons seem to fit really well in the drop. The only real complaint that I have with this sync, at least in the first drop for sure, would be maybe the effects. The bright light is a little too much, to where you can't see some of the weapons being used and stuff. But then after that, there was some really nice CC effects usage, which was kind of cool. And then the transitioning through some of the rest of the sync, we did see some. So we saw some Black Ops 3, some Advanced Warfare. The Advanced Warfare part, maybe I could say, try to maybe differentiate the sprays a tad bit, but it was still pretty good, nonetheless. And then we did see some Battlefield. Going into the another song, and we transitioned to, I believe it was the second song, and yeah. And then we transition back into Advanced Warfare again. But yeah, no, I say it was pretty solid all around sync. Hello?
Oh yeah. For my feedback, I basically wrote down intense. I like it. I really like the effects and how aggressive everything was. But at times I felt like the mix was like between the games wasn't really you could hear every gun, but some guns are just louder than others. At times the mix is a little low, but that's just because you're switching in between games. I guess, and well, different games have different like types of low and high end in the guns. It's just how the sound design in a game works. But apart from that, I really enjoyed this sync, and well, yeah.
And
except for that, I also like that you did use a few songs that I really enjoyed.
As and then Nerdbox said, the mix is slightly low in the intro. Zoom in constantly can be there could be like a little bit of nauseousness in the zoom ins and stuff. Personally, for me, that's personal preference and stuff. But definitely a good point to keep in mind. He said the drop is quite clean, but it gets quite busy in some places. Some song transitions were a tad bit rough, and the mix is a tad bit inconsistent throughout. Sync is still reasonably long, but comfortable, and the ending is sudden, but. Very good job, Mr. at the end, and we hope to see some awesome sync from you in the next round as well. And Not to mention that on the long side of sinks, we also implemented a new rule in the rule set that most sinks cannot go past 6:30, and usually because with a sink like this, though, a 5-minute sink or any 5-minute sink, for it to be consistent on any level is really good, and this is a step in the right direction. So awesome job. And we move on now to the top 20. We're in the top 20 now, so we're in the top half of the leaderboard. Finishing in 20th with a grand total of 57.2 points. We have Triple X SZJ 233, and then another 3 X's to go with it, I suppose. It's a pretty long name.
X6
Yeah, this guy's
Slayer 69XA.
Yes, the generic X. I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but this is the generic Xbox 360 gamer tag right here. But nonetheless, this Chinese sinker did an absolutely amazing job on this sink, and we do open it up with some Black Ops 1 in the beginning, and then we do we have some Advanced Warfare to get added.
That's actually Modern Warfare Remastered.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm stupid. The background was a little bit unfamiliar to me at first. You know, yeah, it is kind. Yeah. Thank you for. Yeah, it looks like a DLC map. So yeah, no, it's just a different background. It's definitely interesting. Definitely catches my eye for sure. But at least compared to the other ones that we always see almost all the time. But anyways, we do have Modern Warfare 1 or Modern Warfare Remastered in the first half of this sync, and then we do have some Advanced Warfare, and then we also transition into, I believe, some back to Modern Warfare Remastered, then back to Advanced Warfare. But anyways, throughout the sync, pretty good accuracy throughout, very good weapons choices. I was really impressed by the weapons choices, especially the mini Uzi in the beginning to help support the buildup, and that was really nice. And then in an Advanced Warfare part, I did like the EM1 usage when there was some very good sprays to go with it as well, but I would say maybe increase the volume of some of the sprays to differentiate, like the BAL and the I believe that was the SAC. I forget the submachine gun. I forget the name of it, but I would say focus on differentiating the sprays a little bit, make it sound a tad bit different, not a lot, but a tad bit. Raise the volume a bit, and you should be in really good shape. But nevertheless, awesome sync.
Okay, the MWR part was absolutely solid. The AW part was a bit less, but also still really good. You used a fair bit of the M1, but I don't hold that against you because, well, you used it at points. You didn't overuse it, you used it at the sprays. The mastering was quite good, but it could use some work in places. I really like how you went into the I actually think this song myself. How you went into the bridge between the first and the second drop, and in the second drop you basically did a more intense version of the first and switching between all the games. I thought this sync, this is how you do pack mixing. This is how you do that. When a lot of people who do these multi-game syncs. I most of the time see that the games don't really flow over in each other that well, but this one actually really pack mixed well. Yeah.
And then we got word from Nerdbox as well, who said intro needs more cat girls, all around solid. No. Yes. Yeah, no, he's obviously making a joke there, but he said all-round solid sync.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident. Although,
because I would have been serious.
No, I bet you would have, but Nerdbox said awesome sync to Mr. SZ, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what China's got for round number 2, as we do see our our second guy who's now in the from the China region, who's showing really big representation in this competition. But now we move on to 19th place with a grand total of 57.6 points. We have Wing Overwatch sync, and compared to where this guy was last year, this guy made huge improvements, and now he's going to be able to participate in the second round. And He did the song, I believe it was Stardust by Geozor. Okay. Geoxor, okay. But I have to say, this song was really unique. I love this song. It was definitely different than a lot of the other songs that we had in the competition. And it just, I feel like the weapons that he chose were just outstanding. The sprays, the reload sounds in the beginning just mixed really well. And overall, it's just an amazing sync to watch. Extremely addictive, actually. And catchy as hell. I love it. Absolutely amazing. And we do see that he used Modern Warfare 2, yes, which is definitely a game that you don't see that often anymore, and at least in syncs, which was really cool. And I love Modern Warfare 2. I've been playing the hell out of it on PC recently. In fact, it's actually 10 years old now, Modern Warfare 2.
Yo, we should like play together sometime.
Dude, hell yeah, man. But Blue, give us a rundown on this sync.
Really solid sync, really clean. I remember like I've 1v1 this dude like fucking 2 times. He's a really nice dude, and his syncs are like, he has been improving a lot over like the past year. Well, his choice of guns and everything, like really, and his song choices as well, like have really improved. The choice of weapons is what I think stood out the most about this sync, because the way he like used the reloads, he like used how do I say this, like really small sounds, but they fit really well, and well, he kind of used guns, which he would associate with like the sounds of the song itself, if you know what I'm getting at. And well, also the rewinding of the RPGs was really cool. I really liked that. And the sprays were really well done. The sprays actually sounded like they had some definition to it and didn't sound like just, well, what Torbsy would consider a bleh. Just you know. Yeah.
So with Nerdbox, he said that heavy leakage in the bass end of the intro, and very clean audio cutting, sound matching in the chorus was a tad bit weak, but all around still solid. But I have to say, this sync was, honestly, I'm gonna go on a limb and say this was one of my top 5, at least in my opinion, just because of how catchy it sounded. It's definitely in the back half of the top 5 for sure. So wait,
it wasn't my top
10. Well, I said top 5, so that's okay. It's fine. But anyways, awesome sync, Wing. Really nice stuff, man. If we could see more unique stuff like this, maybe more unique songs, or if you have a different song in mind and like blow us away, like it's definitely the time to do it. I just say clean up a couple things, and you should be in really good shape. But and also job with the sprays. Sprays had different sounds and stuff, which is cool. Like this is the type of sync where you want it, like you hear the sprays, and you hear the difference between the sprays. So there's a different beat for the sprays, you know? Like this is the type of sync that I like to see. So with that, we're gonna move on to 18th place with a grand total of 57.8 points. We have Hoi Hyung. I believe I think
pronounced as Hui Huang or something.
Hoi Hyung.
I think so.
And this song is all but familiar to me for sure. This is the press start song, and absolutely crisp song if someone could do it well. And this was one of the guys that did it so amazingly well. And we had some Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 3, a little bit of Battlefield, and some Advanced Warfare. And I have to say, this sync, fast and furious all the way through, just absolutely amazing. And he also did some other songs to mix in a little bit later in the sync itself. When we did actually see some K-Sai in this sync as well. In the Black Ops 3 part was the K-Sai part, and oh yeah, that's a song I haven't heard in a while either. At least last time I heard that was Zeto v Black in, was it season 4? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, Zeto v Black did Spider VIP, and he did an amazing job with that. But I love the K-Sai part. It was honestly one of my favorite parts. And if anybody could sing K-Sai really well, that's like really big bonus from me, because that song, it's just so difficult to sing. It's so difficult to sing really well. And we've seen from Shadow Gamer in particular how difficult that song really is, and this guy nailed it, absolutely nailed it. And then we did see, I forget what the third song is in the Battlefield part. I feel like it's a common song because I feel like I've heard it so many times. But if anybody can name that song in the, yeah, cheat codes, or whoever can name that song, the third song. But all around, amazing sync and just really solid throughout, especially the beginning. When the beginning and the K-side part were my two favorite parts for sure. Just really clean, good weapons usage, good weapons choices, and good sprays and good audio.
Okay, this was like one of the things that had really good like this sync had really good audio. Didn't have a lot of effects, but what it did have in effects was really good. What I basically noted down was what it lacks in effects, it makes up in audio. I really liked, well, the song choices and everything. Like, someone singing Press Start is like a huge throwback, because I also like MDK's music a lot. And it's fucking sinking Kasai, like, Jesus man, that's like a really OG song. Like that's like from fucking was it KOS 1 where like fucking Jayton sang that?
I don't even remember. I know the first time I heard this song was when Shadow Gamer first did this song. That was the first time I've seen it. Like, it wasn't in competition, but it was that was the first time I've definitely seen this song. But yeah, that K-side part was just amazing. Like, spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. I could open up a cold one for that.
Yeah, boy.
Continue.
Okay, well, I really like the choice of weapons as well. I had a use of silence weapons as well in the Kasai part. Then I'm going over to the MW3 part, which was before that. You did like the build up, I think you did, yes, of the start, which was really well executed. The sound all fit it pretty well. What I did see is that some clips had like heavier CC than others, which really threw me off for some reason. Yeah, and moving over to the Battlefield 4 part, the CC on this one was really good. I really like how you like work with the saturation and stuff, and how do I fucking call this? I think they call this curves in NBL, where you like makes one part of the lighting like really high, and you like make another part of the lighting like really dark. And that, I thought that was pretty cool because I use that a lot as well. Moving over to the Advanced Warfare part, doing Spider VIP. The thing that stood out the most about this part of the part of the sync was that all the gun choices were really good. Like, every sound like fit perfectly. And well, the only thing that I have to say about this part is that once again the CC like fucking switches between clips at times, which I probably can. I think that it's because he like fucking applies the NBL probably to the track instead of to the clip. But you really gotta like look out for that, because well, it's just a small detail, but it like really throws me off. Yeah, that's basically what I have to say about this thing.
And then from Nerdbox, he said, strong intro, nice variety, a little bit of inconsistency between songs, but amazing throughout. And I have to say, this is an amazing sync. Really well done. I really want to see more stuff from this guy in the future. This guy's good. He's definitely got a lot of talent, and I believe this is he's from Vietnam, the sinker, if I remember, or he's part of the Vietnamese freight train of sinkers.
Yeah.
That we have in this competition. Speaking of Vietnamese freight train, finishing in 17th with a total of 58.6, we do have Mr. Lightname VN, and I love this guy. We've ever since season 3, when this guy first emerged.
Yes.
This guy has been nonstop consistent all the way through, and he is amazing sinker. And although I will say I might be a little, I mean, at least this is more personal preference than anything, that it seemed like this was like an easy song that he was doing, at least compared to what he normally does. I mean, even I wouldn't necessarily take off points for that. That's just more so a personal preference. But other than that, he had a very solid sync, and he made the most of this relatively not simple song, but like compared to the rest of the music that we've been hearing, this song is definitely more on the relaxed side compared to a lot of those other songs that we did see. But very good use of the sprays, and this was a Black Ops 3 sync, so using the sprays is relatively difficult to use them effectively, and we've seen a lot of people fall short on the sprays, but this was a very good sync and very solid. Good audio, just good sounds throughout.
Yeah.
Oh, and I got a call, so you go do your thing.
You go do your call. So Lightning, I fucking love you, man. You're amazing. Your syncs have always like been a pretty huge inspiration to me. Like, damn, you've come so far. My first sync that I saw of you was your KOS semi-final sync for the season 3. Man, that brings back fucking memories when you sync like the Riot remix of Banff. That was amazing, but that's the past. This sync was just it's solid as expected from you. Sadly, it didn't have any CC, but that's all good because like that's like I just don't think this sync needed any CC. It's just good the way it is. It's like every sound is well synced. The bass end, like with the scythe, I think. The minigun is synced. Every sound has like been used in this sync, and well, every sound of the song has been synced. The choice of weapons was also really good. Sprays, the Vesper was used where the Vesper would be the best spray, and well, the Elcar where the Elcar would be the best spray, the Razorback where the Razorback would be the best spray. The choice of weapons was really good. This was just a well put together sync. This is just true craftsmanship. That's how I can really describe it as. Good job, man. I hope to like fucking see you. I can't wait to see what you have in store for the next round.
And from Nerdbox, he said 2 syncs using the same song, A Lamo, and I believe he's referring to a different sync that was came up earlier or will come up later. He said the mix is tad bit low in the intro. Black Hat's at 148 triggered and ASMR. That's an interesting comment there from Nerdbox there. I believe it's 148, he said. Yeah, 148, yes. But he said solid all-around sync, really enjoyed. So that is an interesting comment, though, the Black Hat. But anyways, awesome sync, Mr. Lightname. You're definitely one of my I'm a fan favorite of you, by the way. So I love your stuff. So I'll be rooting for you, Lightname, to continue throughout the competition. And I really hope that he is in the finale again, because this guy is just, when he gets to the finale, he's dangerous. He is really dangerous, and then a very strong gunsinker. But with that, now we're gonna move on to one of the big up-and-coming stars, at least in my view. I was a little disappointed he didn't make it to the finale last year, but finishing in, and he had a really good round 2 sync last year, by the way. But finishing in 16th with a grand total of 60 points flat. A very powerful and strong sinker. We have Mr. Sturmdown, and he did his entry Uprising, and oh my god, it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Amazing.
Yes. Like the intro, it gets you in that suspense. That's how this sync really starts out, where I mean, you get, just a couple rocket launcher shots, and arguably I'd say I wished that more would happen in the intro, but this is one of the very few cases where a slow intro creates buildup, and the buildup creates drama, and then the drama creates product. And then, so I know I was getting a little too poetic there, but basically, he did use some Black Ops 3, some Advanced Warfare. He used a solid mixture of games. And he starts out with the build-up of Black Ops 3, which was really solid all the way through. And we actually saw some Black Ops 4 as well, which was really cool to see. The new game in action as well. And I love, I really love the, right after the topography part, the build-up, the Advanced Warfare part was just absolutely phenomenal. And the music was just so unique, just absolutely unique. And one of my favorite songs in this, honestly, one of my favorite songs that has ever been used in this competition. Especially when we get to the drop and stuff starts speeding up. You get the build-up, the really fast build-up. And then really cool use of the effects, the TV static. And then when the sprays come alive, it's just so crisp, so beautiful. Absolutely amazing. And really good CC, really good typography, at least in the... I really like the typography in particular when it goes to the 209 marker. That was really nice. And really good variety. Just, I love the variety in this sync. One of my favorite entries in this competition for sure.
Okay, this sync. This fucking sync! Holy shit! This was like a cinematic masterpiece. Like, Jesus. The effects were just so good. It was just solid, a great choice of weapons, an amazing song choice. I'm gonna keep saying that, I fucking love Temanite's music. And every time someone fucking sings it, I get instantly hyped. It's just like, fucking... It goes into like the Black Ops 3 part, and it like does the reloads after like the XM53 rocket launcher. It like builds suspense, like Escape said, and then it goes into the Black Ops 4 part with like the S_warp chroma, and it, like, has really cool transitions. It goes into like the cinematics of Advanced Warfare. It goes into the build up of Advanced Warfare, which is really cleanly done, like Jesus man. And then we're going in the drop, and oh my god, the transitions! They're so fucking well done. Like, especially at like the 148 marker. He like goes into Modern Warfare 2. Oh, I think, yeah, it's Modern Warfare 2. And he like fucking switches up the CC, and that is so cool. Like, Jesus man. He like also use different S_shakes for different parts, which is also really cool. Then the CC gets really heavy after a while, which I also like because it like gets more heavy as time goes on, which I can really fucking appreciate. And then you're like at the end with the LSAT in Black Ops 2. Then, well, that's just a nice little, just calm down moment. And then you like use the fucking hacker device, and like goes beep 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 beep, and it like it's so well pitched. Like, holy fuck man, this sync. I want to see something like this for the next round. I want to see something like this because this got a really high score for me. This got like an 8.9 for me.
You know, I think Storm Down definitely setting the bar high for a lot of the competition out here. The only people that scored ahead of him really, like, they're like, I'm just saying, like, Storm Down is one of those sinkers that knows how to, like, he goes fast and furious in the beginning. Hopefully he can keep that consistency going into round number 2 to get him into the finale. Because I want to see this guy compete in the finale. He was so close last year. He was so close. And for the record, he had an amazing sync in that last year as well to almost get him in. It's just he got a little bit outclassed by the group stages there. But absolutely amazing job, though, Storm Down. And Nerdbox said the topography a bit primitive, but interesting. Said CC could be a bit overwhelming, mixes tad inconsistent, some effects work very well. And that's the words from Nerdbox. And now we're about to move into the top 15. Finishing in 15th with a grand total of 61.7 points and the Vietnamese Rookie of the Year last year, we have Hai Hum, who makes his return. And I'm so happy that he's back. I am really excited to see what he's got in store for us this year. I was a little bit disappointed that he didn't submit a sync for the finale last year, but hopefully he can come up with something this time round. And I would love to see what Mr. High Hum has in store for us. But this first round sync definitely hits with a bang. And very common song that he used in this one, the song Groove, which is a song that we see very commonly. Actually, very commonly amongst the Vietnamese community uses this song, believe it or not.
I wonder why. Is it because HK15 fucking synced it back in the day? I think so.
Thinking emoji. Thinking. But yeah, anyways, I actually like this song. It's actually pretty smooth if people can do it really well. And it's one of those songs, it's like you have to do it with a different tone or a different approach compared to the rest of the competition for this thing to really shine. And this was one of those instances where I believe that was Killing Floor that we saw.
Shit, can you like go back a sentence because my thing just like
crashed?
No, Cymatic sent me an email.
Oh, nice. Cinematic?
No, Cymatics. It's like a music.
Oh. Ah, okay. Okay, we're good now?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say that for the High Hum actually used Killing Floor for a good portion of the sync, and I thought it was a really cool addition. And Killing Floor is not too common in this competition, and I'm telling you to. Yeah, and
that's not Killing Floor. That's
what is that?
Game. I don't know what that is, but that ain't fucking Killing Floor.
Really?
That ain't
yeah.
Floor.
Oh, I thought that was Killing Floor because the moon looked familiar than the one in Killing Floor. But anyways, I believe it was he used a different game. If anybody could name that game, let me know. Warface? Really?
I think so.
Yeah, that's really cool. If that's War, I gotta catch up on my games, man. I've been making mistakes today. It's I know people in the comments are gonna fucking derail me for for not naming the games correct now. I believe it's gonna be the new meme. But let's getting to the actual sync itself. We're getting a little off track here. Cinematics are really cool at the 50-second marker, which was really cool. It gave me that nostalgia for like those COD edits back in the day, which is really clean. Not too obnoxious, but pretty cool. And it syncs really well. But getting into the Black Ops 3 part, it was really clean and all that. The Advanced Warfare part was nice in the beginning, and the first minute 16 was really smooth, really consistent. And then we get into the build-up, and the drop hits at around the 150 marker. And oh my god, when the drop happens at 150, that shit was crisp, High Hum. Absolutely crisp. Really unique effects, which really like gave me an LSD right there. Like, I mean, like the good kind of LSD. Like, I mean,
that gave you an orgasm.
Yeah, no, it was an orgasm, dude. Like, really nice use of the spear too. Not too obnoxious, but just right. And this is what I mean with a song like this. A song like this, there's got to be something that stands out with the sync for it to be really effective. And this was one of those cases. And the first drop was just amazing. Really cool use of Twixtor and just really cool implementation of the weapons and the effects there. Absolutely amazing and clean. And really good CC choices as well. And just smooth all the way around. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, this sync. Oh boy! Amazing amazing as expected. Nice thumbnail, by the way. Kings.exe. Nice intro. Cute blob thing. Ooh. The audio mastering on this one was really good. Like all the sounds were like like the mastering on the guns was minimalistic, but it like came through enough that you could actually hear the guns, you know. And it goes into the drop, and it's like the fucking transitions. Oh, this just makes me so happy to like fucking see how creative people can be with like clip transitions and like audio. And then later on in the sync, he switched out of Groove actually, and he switched to a different song. He switched to
Oh, really?
I think he switched to a Kotori song. If you look at the sync and like when he switches to the Black Ops Street part.
And I think another point to add, I was gonna mention that I really love how Groove the song when you see that first drop, when you see Groove in general, and then you see that first drop and stuff, like that drop really stood out and really went well with the theme of Groove, like the song theme. You know what I mean? Like that LSD trip that you would get at the 150 marker it just felt like like the effect matched the song per se. You know what I mean? And I've never seen an entry do that before. That's actually one of the first times I've ever seen an effect really match a song like that, or at least in such a significant way. It's just like, wow, it was beautiful. But and then just all the way around, good audio, good weapons choices, really clean, really simple, beautiful effects, and just an amazing entry all the way around. By the way, that's the words of Nerdbox, by the way, the clean and simple part. And he also said that the mix is radically different and not as well done as the first half, but still pretty good.
Yeah.
But absolutely amazing High Hum. I really want to see some more stuff from High Hum. I really want to see this guy get to the finale and get a sync in this finale. I want to see him go hard. I want to see him kick some ass. Cause this guy is amazing. He's got a lot of talent.
Gotta kick some gum and chew some ass.
Jesus Christ, no. We're gonna move on before we get more into that. So demonetized. Okay, finishing at 14th with a grand total of 61.8 points, and something that definitely really surprised me. Or not surprised me, but I should say it was definitely
interesting.
Yes, interesting. And this is a song I haven't seen in a while, Sky Fracture, from Mr. Cake Pew, and he decided to do Modern Warfare 3. Yeah, this is Modern Warfare 3.
That's MW3, yeah. That's definitely MW3.
And he also implemented some Battlefield,
and some R6S, and then some Black Ops 3, and some Infinite Warfare.
And for the amount of time, for the minute and 38 seconds that we got through this sync, Mr. Cake Pew, oh my god, man. really awesome job. Just an amazing job all the way through. Especially, like, with Rainbow Six in particular, right? Rainbow Six, it's so difficult to differentiate your sprays. Just in general. Honestly, it's one of the most difficult games to sync well, in my opinion. And this guy nailed it. Absolutely fucking nailed it. Like, it was fast and furious all the way through. The sprays were differentiated, and just all the way through, it was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Nothing more can be said. Just solid all the way around.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is your turn. I know, I didn't have much to say there.
What is that? What the fuck is that? that really good meme. Really good meme you put in there. I really liked my favorite part of the sync actually wasn't the R6S part, it was the Infinite Warfare part, because he had some really interesting songs, really interesting like gun choices in that part. Like he used a silent sniper rifle as a kick drum. Wait, is it a kick drum? No, he used it as a snare drum, which is really interesting because you don't see a lot of people use like suppressors for like kicks or snares, you know? Like everything just sounded really good. Like the sound design of the song really fit like well with the guns that you used. This sync had reasonably minimalistic effects to a certain extent, but enough to like keep you interested. And the sound and like the audio mastering was also really good between the games. So this gets a big thumbs up for me.
Also from the, I'm just gonna use, I know Nerdbox had a lot more to say about this sync, but these words really stood out to me when he said the mix is powerful. And he said a tad bit short, but still pretty good sync. But the mix was absolutely powerful. I love how powerful this mix was. Like, it really stood out to me. Absolutely amazing job. Nothing more can be said for that. And we hope to see more out of this cake you guys. I want to see some more out of him too. And I know I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm probably gonna say it for like 5 or 10 other guys. But this is stuff I like to see. Stuff like this. This is really cool. Hopefully for the second round. Yeah, hopefully in the second round he could definitely step it up, and hopefully he could really show you why he earned that 1v1 with you as well. But finishing in 13th place with a grand total of 61.9 points, we have Make It Rain. And Make It Rain is going to be making his first appearance in round number 2 for his Tokyo Machine Sync party, which he decided to use Infinite Warfare and a bunch of other games, all put into one. And I love Tokyo Machine songs because, once again, it's one of those songs that are very difficult to sync well, but if you can sync it really well, then props off to you and hats off to you and respects to you. And Make It Rain did an absolutely amazing job with this. Just phenomenal and smooth all the way through. It was short but clean and consistent all the way through. And there was some CSGO in there. I was really happy to see some CSGO make an appearance in this sync as well. And when we get into around the 50-second marker, we see the topography, which was interesting. And I love the Overwatch part to this. When the drop happens, the Overwatch part was really clean. Actually, one of my favorite parts of it. And then just smooth, beautiful and smooth. Although I'd argue maybe the sprays could be differentiated a little bit better, a tad bit, but other than that, just really nice.
Yeah, like Escape said, this sync is just smooth with an F instead of a TH. Just smooth.
Why with an F? What smooth? What the fuck does that mean?
That's like extra smooth.
Oh Jesus, man.
Yeah. That's like fucking, I don't know, probably like, I don't know where I fucking picked it up. It's probably some fucking leftist culture.
Just continue.
Like Tokyo Machine songs are really cool. I always really like them. The one like remark I have about this sync is like the drums in the MW3 part, like the kick and the snare were a bit louder than like the sprays, which kind of threw me off a bit. Apart from that, there's a solid choice of weapons, especially mid drop. But yeah, that's basically my comment on it. But I also really like the use of effects. Everything was just good. The only thing I would really like to see is that like those drums be a bit like less loud in the MW3 part, and like maybe some CC. And that's basically what I've got to say.
We do have some words from Nerdbox. He said, Mix has a lot of headspace, solid sync, clean, effective, well done. Short sync though, but pretty solid all the way around. And good sync from Make It Rain. It was good enough to make it to the next round. And I'm rooting for you too, Make It Rain. We used to play a lot of CS:GO back in the day, and I'm hoping that I definitely want to play with him again. And if he has Modern Warfare 2, you should hop on too. But amazing sync, very nice sync all the way around. And just in general, I do want to invite. I know this is random time to say this. I do want to invite more people to play Modern Warfare 2 with me. I'm getting kind of lonely, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that in the end or some other time. But anyways, finishing in 12th place with a grand total of 63.1 points, and another new phenomenon in the syncing world is really starting to come into play here. Actually, I first seen this guy 1v1 Shadow Gamer. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about none other than Stan QAQ. Like,
we stand this dude.
Yeah, this guy Stan's got some talent. He's got a lot of talent, and he is really good. And it was really cool to see what he could do in the beginning here. Or at least when I think that's CSGO he's doing, right? In the beginning?
Yeah, that's a nice CSGO. You can
Mhm.
see like, it in like BSG1. Is that what the sniper's called?
I believe so, yeah. And then there's the auto sniper used in there, but basically he uses CSGO in the beginning, and then he for the first 30 seconds, then transitions into Advanced Warfare. I have to say, the Advanced Warfare part was really cool, and I love the sprays, and not really necessarily an overusage of the EM1, but I feel like it was just right, and at least in this scenario. Really cool, smooth transitions between each of the, especially when it transitioned into like the slower parts of the clips as well. I'm not sure if that was an effect usage there, or... And he also used some Black Ops 4, believe it or not, which was kind of cool to see. And we did see we just saw a variety of games being used in this. And then he also added in a Sony Vegas crash in Chinese, which is kind of interesting to see at the 122 second marker. And he also gave a very bad promotional output to Sony Vegas. He said, "Fuck you, Vegas," at 135 as well. So interesting touches there. Sony Vegas is definitely going to copyright and take down this video for sure. So that's going to be a big old rip from him. But
Fuck
joke,
you,
but
Vegas!
that's literally what it says. But anyways, just a really cool sync all the way around. The effects are really well done, and Nerdbox also said, "Shame that Vegas was being a hoe." That's what he said in the response to the "Fuck you, Vegas" effect there. Which normally I'm not really too keen on, like when people use the Vegas crash part. But I think what Stan was trying to say here was that his Vegas crashed when doing part of the song, and then he did a whole new sync and then just re-rendered both of them together. But absolutely awesome job from Stan. Just smooth, beautiful, and very crisp.
Everything was on point. The only nitpick I have is that it wasn't really innovative. The sync itself was really great, and so was the meme. I really like the Sony Vegas thing, because it really, like... I get this a lot as well, when like fucking Vegas just decides to like stop working on my ass and just like fucking crashes. It really pisses me off, and like I think this really puts some like really empathizes the pain that someone feels when when Vegas doesn't work. It's kind of like the meme. When a girl cries, there are many reasons. When a boy cries, it's because his fucking Sony Vegas crashed. But yeah, it's got a 9.2 for me, which is a really high score. The choice of weapons was really good. You also used my Black Ops 4 pack, which I really liked. Your effects were really good, and well, every gun had its own part in the mix, and that is something which I can appreciate. Everything just sounded good. Everything just fit well.
It was just an amazing all-round sync, and Stan, I believe, was the, if I'm not mistaken, was the highest finisher among the Chinese sinkers as well. So props off to Stan for finishing in that position. But just in general, for making a statement in the beginning, Stan definitely made a statement on why he's here in this competition, and this sync definitely shows for sure. And this is his friend, and he's a rookie in this competition. He's more. I feel like as time goes on, more of these new guys that are coming into the scene are really starting to show why they fit in this competition so well, and especially with Stan. So I'm really looking forward to see what Stan's got in round number 2. So with that, we're going to move on to 11th place. We're approaching the top 10 now, finishing with 65.7 points. We have our Australian veteran sinker, Commando Derp, and Commando never fails to disappoint. That's all I'm going to say. Ever since Season 3, he has not... Actually, even Season 2, he had a really solid sync. He just didn't make it to the finale, but or didn't make it to the next round, but just absolutely amazing stuff from Commando Derp. His audio's gotten crisper and crisper each and every time, and he also chooses some really unique songs too that definitely stands out. Really nice topography usage, really good variety of weapons, and as always, his Overwatch part was pretty solid as well. Really good Rainbow Six part as well, crisp audio all the way through, differentiated sprays, and also I forgot to mention the CS:GO moving part. He brings it back. This is actually one of the first entries I've seen that has CS:GO moving syncs. That's good enough to make it to the next round. And I love how he does the fast time lapse and stuff. This is very similar to his round 1 entry last year when he did that same exact thing, which was really cool to see. Like, absolutely amazing. Good stuff from Commando, and I hope Commando can make it to the finale once again. It'd be cool to see him again.
Yeah. Like, my comment on this. Yes! The man! The myth! The legend! The derp! Amazing! Yes! Like, he is such a good sinker. Like, he's been here from like almost like from the start. He was like here since KOS 2. That's like before me.
Yeah, I think he's one of the he's one of the oldest sinkers in the field. I believe oldest sinkers, as in like the amount of years he's competed in this competition. He's got 4 years under his belt.
Yes, like his choice of weapons, everything about this sink is just amazing. Like especially the CS:GO part when he like first he does like a Slippy song, I think. Shit, make the ground shake like a fucking earthquake. I think it's like Slippy Earthquake. And then like he like when the thing about this CS:GO part, right? When he's like at the end of this drop, he goes back, he like reverses like the background clip, and he goes into like a fucking psytrance song or something. Did you also notice that? Like he fucking switches the song like halfway through the CS:GO part.
Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, I was a little bit kind of caught off guard by that.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like,
and sorry, go ahead.
You first.
Now I was gonna say, I thought you were finished, so that's why I said something. But you can continue. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Also, the first song, I actually like fucking install that song, and I'm gonna use it for the KOS and Round 1 intro.
Oh, really?
And the Party All Night song.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Then he went to like Virtual Light 1-2, fucking with my bamboo, hit him with the 1-2. Really fun song. Really like you sync that. Just this sync. Derp always never lets us down. Like Jesus, this man. Big massive respect for him.
And we do see from Nerdbox said the mix is high and some drops, and there's and video is over compressed. So I believe over compression, right, is when you try to compress the video so much to make it fit on your computer, and there's like audio, or not audio effects. There's like different effects that kind of it looks like it's duplicated in a way. Is that what the?
I think it's like when you put so much shit on it that it looks like it looks like pixelated. Let's say like you put fucking 10 layers of magic bullet looks on there, and it just like looks like blob because it's like fucking 480p.
Okay. No, that makes sense. When Nerdbox, if you're in the if you can hear us, or if you're in the chat, explain to the audience what overcompression is and how to potentially fix that. But either way, awesome entry, Commando, and we hope to see some amazing stuff from you in this second round, and maybe less overcompression. That's all I can really say, because I'm just gonna go with your definition on that one, Blue, because like I said, I still need to touch up myself on overcompression itself. But I believe what you said was I think it was correct. I'm pretty positive, because I remember a couple times I used to have that same issue myself. But moving on to the top 10. finishing in 10th place with a grand total of 66.5 points, we have the top sinker from the region of Thailand, Explorer. And I have to say that his sync was really cool to watch. Really cool topography in the beginning. The video game theme still lives on, although I do miss the intro, the intro where he presses start and does all that. But it was definitely time for a change. No questions asked there. But topography was beautiful. The sync itself, really nice, really smooth. Good weapons choices throughout. Mix was tad bit. I'd say there was a little tad bits of the audio could have been improved a little bit, but very nice weapons choices, good transitions, cool effects, and I really love the Tempest usage, like the reloading Tempest usage towards the end of the sync, which was really nice. Very well done.
Okay. Let me just hold on. Let me just get my results for them. I'm still looking.
Explorer. You got a solid sync.
The audio and visuals were really good.
I really like the effects you used, the songs you used, although I wish that you fucking used like the second drop of Gunslinger. Because the first one is just halftime and the second one just goes into fucking hard dance, which is cool. But yeah, this was a really good sync. I liked it.
And from Nerdbox response to the sync and says effects were well placed, all around very solid entry, and the topography was fantastic. I can't even talk now, but I was gonna say mix is also a tad bit inconsistent. That's what he said, but he gave it a 9 out of 10. Just absolutely awesome stuff from Explorer. Really shows why he's top of the region for sure. We're expecting a lot from him in round number 2. Finishing in 9th now with a total of 67.7 points, we have the Irish sinker, Mr. Kelmeister. And Mr. Kelmeister has made it to the finals of this competition for back in Season 2 and Season 4, and this sync shows exactly why. His sync was just really unique. I love the animation in the beginning that he adds. He's actually one of the few syncers that actually adds animations, which is kind of cool. Although I do have to say the first song kind of creeped me out a little bit. I was a little bit creeped out. But it was cool to see a different change of pace. Like the really dark side of syncing. You know what I mean? Like where I'm not sure what that effect is that he added in where like the weapons are dark, but you could see like the outline of it. That was really cool. I'm not sure if he did that on purpose or if that was the intent, but that was really cool to see. Absolutely amazing. And the effects are just spot on as always. And the weapons just sounded really solid in that part. And then we get to the part. I believe he did Gunslinger as well, believe it or not. Yeah. Same as Explorer, believe it or not. And it was just so solid all the way through. And you can hear all the weapons very clearly. Transitions are good, and effects usage is quite nice. And I also really love the tile effect at the 227 marker as well, or the 225 marker, which was really cool to see. And just a really cool entry. And like I said, this is the Kelmeister showing why he's here once again, where his syncs are very strong in the unique side of things, and he's definitely someone to watch out for going into the late stages of this competition. Yes, it is your turn. Yes.
Fucking solid, Kel. The feels and everything were on point. Great song choices too. See that you didn't sync the second drop of Gunslinger, though that probably would have given you a little personal score boost. He got a 9 from me. This sync, yes, it's just the effects and everything were just on point, and I really liked how everything sounded. And yeah, he also synced in that attack from Mandrake, like the second last song. Like no, it was actually one of the songs that I synced in my Kings of Syncs finals. I think. Hold on, let me get the times.
I thought that song sounded familiar and all that.
Yeah, at 2:15, that's the song that I sing. That's one of the songs that I sing for my final sync.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Really good stuff.
and this sync was just very well made. And he also used my Black Ops 4 pack, so that also gave me like a big ass smile.
You know, it was definitely nice. He had, I think that was in the beginning. He used Black Ops 4 in particular, and then solid, smooth. And Nerdbox said, nice stylish touches, and I believe he's referring to like in the beginning where the, like kind of like that dark theme, going into that dark theme. I think that's what he's mentioned there. And he said, absolutely solid typography, mixes tad bit inconsistent and clipping in some places, but solid sync all the way around. And I have to say, Kelmeister never fails to disappoint. He's one of those other guys. Same thing with him. So now we're going up into the top 8, finishing in 8th place with, we're in the home stretch here, 68.6 points. We have Nugenam, and this is not the Nguyen Nam guy from Season 3, which I was really hoping he'd make a return, but this is, his name is actually Nugenam. I believe he's making fun of the name that I gave Nguyen Nam the first time round. With his name, but this guy's entry, solid, like just absolutely solid, and it was just really smooth. And in the beginning, really good, solid usage of the weapons, especially at the when you start seeing the support weapon on the top being sprayed at the I believe it was the 12-second marker when we started seeing that.
The L-Car machine pistol.
Yeah, that was the L-Car, yeah. And then I love the effects of the stars. That was kind of cool to see. And I was kind of really and then you would hear the random reload of the sniper, which is a little bit awkward, but still kind of cool touch. I still kind of like that. And then build up into the 104 marker, we start seeing some more weapons being fired, the L-Car and the shotgun, and a couple of the sniper reloads on the side, which is really cool. And then the drop, interesting drop, and really interesting effects that are being used in this sync. But the weapons fit really well and fit with the drop as well as they can. And although the only thing I'd argue that I really feel like I didn't see enough of with this piece is maybe a tad bit more variety. That's if there was a little bit more variety in this sync in terms of weapons or anything like that for Black Ops 3, then
I thought this sync had a lot of variety, especially in the second drop.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, the second drop makes like a huge fucking switch up and it goes into progressive house.
Oh yeah, no, I see that now. Okay. I think I was just referring to the first drop then with the variety, but but yeah, in the second drop, as I was getting to that, the second drop is definitely even better than the first drop. But you know what? Ignore my variety comment there. I completely forgot that this sync had added the variety later on. I think that it was I thought it was actually really nice that the build-up itself had a little bit less weapons in the beginning, but then like going into the second half, you see a lot more weapons and stuff. But I'd still argue that the first half of the sync could add a tad bit more variety, a tad bit, not a lot more, but a little bit more to bump that score up even higher, at least for me. But the second drop was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Like good use of the sprays and just beautiful all the way through. But very nice variety, very nicely done.
This sync, in my opinion, this was probably one of the cleanest syncs in the entire competition so far. Like, apart from someone who we're gonna
mention later.
We're gonna mention later, and you probably know who I'm talking about already.
Yeah.
There was a bit of downtime with the stars, which, well, in the beginning I thought it was a really cool touch with like the stars and stuff, right? But later on, like, he keeps using it, and he, like, with the stars, he kind of uses it as filler for the parts where there aren't really guns that he can sync to, which, like, he could have used some cinematics, like, come on, man. Yeah, like, the choice of weapons in this, I quite liked. he used the L chord as a hi-hat instead of like using a suppressed pistol, which a lot of people do. I love the switch up in the second drop. Like, the first drop was cool and all. Yeah, it was like a trap drop, and it had like, he used, I think, the BRN, light machine gun, in the top middle corner. Or like in the top middle. Like to sync like the sub bass, I think. Sync that. And he used like slowed down reloads. Like, he slowed down the reloads. Instead of like speeding up sprays, he like stretched out the reloads to fit like the sounds of the song. Which is really cool. Because normally when you like slow things down, it like sounds really like
choppy.
Robotic, yeah, really robotic, and like here it actually sounded really good because it really like worked with the flow of the song.
Yeah, no, I was very surprised that because usually with stretch audio like that, it just doesn't sound that great. But like I noticed, like that's why like maybe I said it was awkward in the beginning, but it still fit really well, surprisingly. But words from Nerdbox, he says the hats are slightly loud in the intro. Audio, I believe it's re-stretching distortion. He was trying to say there. Complex sound design in the drop could have been matched a little bit better. Reloads don't have enough sustain or on the right ADSR profiles, and rewinding a reload into itself would yield a right profile like the bolt action reverse does. Second half really brings it back. Clean, simple, well mixed. So definitely reinforcing what we were saying earlier about the second drop really just showing why this sync is in the position that it is. Like that, the second half was just flawless. And I would say fix the consistency in the first half, like I was talking about earlier. Maybe add a little bit more variety in the first half, a little bit. It doesn't need to be too much, but just a little bit. But really nicely done. And now we're moving on to 7th place, 69.6 points from Tovernyak. And, oh my god, wow. Honestly, this is one of my favorite songs in the competition as well. At least this song really stood out to me. Even though it sounds like a generic song that you'd hear on like pop stations and shit. Yeah, you know, like those pop romantic songs and stuff. But it was really cool to see Tovernyak on this high up in the leaderboards, and this sync will show why. Really cool, solid topography, and the moving text boxes, the moving supporting sync boxes, which was really cool. And
the watermark.
Yeah, the watermark too. I was gonna mention that too. I mean, that's not really major points, but it's nice minor. But this is one of those instances where it's like the simple and effective sync wins out, but yet it's not simple at the same time. It's like there's a lot going on the screen. The screen's very busy, and there's a lot of weapons going out at once, which is cool. Some Overwatch, some Battlefield, and I'm not sure what that first game is. I'm not really. There could be PUBG. Yeah, it kind of looks. It kind of looks like PUBG, but it kind of does not in the same time, you know. Yeah, it might be, but let me know what that game is. But either way, the reloads and the weapons that were used in this game were really cool, and it just sounded so crisp all the way through. And I'm just so happy for Tovernyak being able to make it to the next round. It's so awesome. This guy barely made it in last year. Now he's got himself a top 10 finish. Just absolutely amazing. And I believe that Tovernyak, this is his 3rd year in the competition now. I remember seeing this guy in season 3 for the first time, and it was just really cool. And good on the sync itself, really nice first drop, like really pretty solid. And then the second drop was adding, I think he added one more secondary support box there, and he shows why the busy syncs, if done right, show a lot of potential. And what I mean by busy syncs is when there's a lot going on at the screen, because it's easy for someone to make the screen busy, but if they do it wrong, then it just sounds like shit. Clustered. But something like and clustered. So like this one right here, it's clean, it's precise, and it's just solid all the way around. Very nice job, Tovernyak.
Okay, so what I think about this sync, This is like Tovarniak is like one of the people that like actually layers his guns. Like let's say for example he uses like what's it call it? He uses like let's say a Desert Eagle in Battlefield 4, right? And like he uses a pump action shotgun in PUBG or whatever that game is, right? And he like layers it on top of each other to create a whole new sound, which is really cool. This is why like I gave this thing 7.5, mostly because it was reasonably simplistic, and I am a sucker for very complicated stuff. So yeah, this sync. One of the main points that I saw of it is that it was just clean, and well, everything was mixed well together. It was definitely better than what he did last year, because that's when he was still like kind of inventing like the layering thing.
Yeah, and it was a little bit clustered, and I remember he barely made it into the second round. I was happy he made it, and it was a great sync. It was just this one, like he stepped it up even more.
He like perfectionized what he did last year.
Yeah, and that's you can see why, especially where he is on the leaderboards now. And with Nerdbox's words, he does say taking the intro fully from the music video ticks him off just a tad. I was gonna mention something about that, but I mean, for me, that's not really the biggest of deals. I guess it's a personal preference thing. But he did say the mix is slightly high, good score, sync is compromised by borrowing assets from the music video itself. So I guess what Nerdbox is trying to say here is don't knock off the music video, and maybe your score will be even higher, or at least try to add maybe cinematics over it, or something like that, maybe, or like what Nuganam did, add the space stars, the stars and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know. That's just. At least I would agree with that as well. But overall, just awesome sync, really good stuff, and. Now we're in the top 6, and sixth place.
This man, yes, he gets a drum ruffle. Okay, you can go.
70.2 points. 70 points. Just crazy how many points these guys got. Like the Vuachoy, man, 70.2 points, and definitely one of the syncs that stood out to me. And also, we get a little bit of a sneak peek of what Mr. Vuachoy does. And what he loves to do, and I've had a lot of conversations with this guy, lots of interviews, lots of talks, and he loves his DDR, and he got to show us firsthand his DDR with this sync, and it just syncs so well with the steps, sync so well with the actual guns and weapon sounds themselves, and it was just this sync was so unique, just so cool to watch. Even just simple stuff like that, and you get to see the dancing man on the screen. He's rocking out, he's kicking some ass, and then just talk about the sync itself. Just accurate all the way through. He used Modern Warfare Remastered, and the Modern Warfare sound just sounded so crisp and so clean. And the song was definitely different as well. It was not like a lot of the other songs that we see in the competition as well, but this is the syncs I love from Vuachoy, the fast, the furious syncs, and this is what I love to see. And we also get the dancing man on the side here, so the man himself, the myth, the legend, the syncer himself, dancing to his song that he sings. Absolutely amazing.
Oh,
loved it.
Fucking god, like, holy shit. This sync. Oh, yes! Really, really innovative. I remember when Vuachoy, like, for the first time, I remember when he fucking synced Weaponize, like, and he implemented like DDR for the first, or was it Stepmania for the first time in like his syncs. He like did used the green screen Black Ops 3 pack and Modern Warfare 3 pack. He like put like a Stepmania chart in the background, which he like did almost like a perfect run on, and now he like keeps like adding on to that. And he got like later on he like went and did like a green screen DDR thing on like a Modern Warfare Remastered pack, and now he does this where he like fucking dances to the song, and you get like literally him dancing and like a sync next to it. This is like one of the most innovative things I've seen so far in this entire competition. My man's got some fucking moves. The audio is really.
Oh, yeah.
This is top tier syncing. This has got a 9.3 for me. A 9.3.
Yeah, I think that also to add to that is like not only like the dancing, like Choi while he's dancing, his steps sync with the actual like weapons too. Like you can see how closely synced they actually are, and you know how difficult that is to do. That's crazy, being able to do that, and it was just crazy and just absolutely amazing. And Nerdbox also said nice touch with the dance rush, solid sync. That's all he can really say for that one. Nothing more can be said. Just beautiful all the way around. And now we are approaching the top 5. 5th place, 71.6 points. And we have another rookie in this competition, or at least it doesn't seem like he's a rookie with the sync that he did here. Bravo 6. Bravo 6. Oh my god. This just absolutely crispy, yeah. But I love the intro, how it flows really well with the actual like sync itself. Not too distracting, but really cool. And we do see "Wait for Me" as the first song that he uses. Yeah, I remember that. And he did some Modern Warfare 3, and the sprays were just phenomenal. And this part was just absolutely amazing. And then we get into the Rainbow Six part of the sync at the second stage, and he did really cool. I really love the use of the explosions at the I believe it was the 103 marker when he's like about to set off a charge or something. That was really cool to see, and the sprays were just, they were groovy. I love it. It was so cool. Just seeing those sprays and how clean they were, the effects that were used, how smooth it was. This was phenomenal stuff from Bravo 6. And this guy, I wanted to see him compete last year. He did not compete last year, but this year he's bringing his A game. This guy's got a chance to win this. I think he can win this guy. Like, just, I was stunned when I saw this entry. And this was one of the first entries that actually came out before before everybody else's. And we also had a little bit of the kill sync with the pistol, which was actually a very nice touch, and we don't really usually see those kill syncs as much anymore, and it was really nice to see that, especially for Rainbow Six Siege, to just definitely add something different to it. And then finally,
he used the song he fucking used for the announcement
for the announcement video. That was a nice touch. And I love how he had the piano in the beginning, which is cool just to introduce the song. But it was just nothing more than just a power. This is a powerhouse sync right here. So, just beautiful.
It was just tasty. It was really tasty. This really take up my syncing senses.
I can see that.
Yeah. The only thing was like the only problem I had with this is that it wasn't really like creative on the visual side of things, which is forgivable, seeing how fucking amazing this sync like is on almost every other aspect. Like, it's definitely one of the most well arranged syncs, like well thought out. Like the mashup between all the songs, it all just works. Like, it really reminds me of like fucking like thinking, what song should I do like 2 months before fucking KOS starts? What song should I do? What songs will transition well into each other? Like, it really reminds me of me fucking doing that last year. Like, this is just amazing. Like, I really like it when stuff is really well organized. Probably my autism, but I don't fucking care. This is really well done, and it got a 9.4 from me.
And then from Nerdbox, he said the mix is high, edge blur gives tunnel vision, and very competent second section. A joy to watch overall. And I have to say, Bravo 6, I'm impressed. I was really impressed with this thing. Absolutely amazing. And you got a shot to win this. Just refine the sync and show me what you got in that second and third round. But I want to see you go all out in these upcoming rounds, my guy, and show me what you can do, Bravo 6, because I want to see more. I want to see more from this guy. This guy is great. And now we're in fourth place here. We're getting close to the end here. Finishing in fourth with 75.4 points. And one of the known veterans in the field since season 3, we have Husel. And another stunning entry. Just an absolutely stunning entry. Honestly, this is my favorite entry I've ever seen from Husel. And the topography is amazing. Reminds me of the old days with Nerdbox's syncs and all that, which is really cool. And just the theme that this sync has, it was just absolutely phenomenal. As we see the build-up, starts out with some Overwatch to set the scene, which was a really nice start. And then the sounds sounded just absolutely crisp. This reminded me of Commando Derb's first entry in Season 4. And it was just so crisp all the way through. And then really cool transition into effects. And when he does the Welcome to the Black Hole, and then they transition into the new and refined effect. This is actually very similar to the Yin Yang effect, but not quite the Yin Yang effect. This is the... Yeah, it's not quite that. It's just the black and the white looks similar, but it was that effect that he used at 130 was really cool to see. Really clean and just really nice. And the audio sounded pretty good, and it was just solid throughout. And with a song like this, it was just so different. Just really, it really stood out. Like, this sync really stood out to me, and this was one of my favorite syncs out in the field as well. Like, for sure. Like, effects like this and doing them well really drive a sync and make them stand out. And this sync was definitely probably the one that stood out the most to me. And the transitions were solid, good cinematics throughout, really cool. Like, I really also love this touch. This at the 239 marker in particular, you'll see it the most. Like, you see the box is like filled with the flames, like it's surrounded by the flames. But then not just the box, but the weapons too. And it was just really cool to see, like, it really made the weapons pop more. And then when the weapons are actually being synced as well at the same time, when you have an accurate sync with effects like this, it's just music to the ears. And this song was just so unique. And then at the end, probably I think it was the last drop at around the 336 minute marker when they do the Welcome to the Black Hole again. And then just the Satan effect comes in, and like it's going on. It's all types of hell going on right there. Like, it's just so cool that
it's like an improved version of the first drop.
Yeah, and it was just beautiful. Effects were just absolutely beautiful in this, and I felt like I was going to hell after watching this one. It was just so cool. Like, just listening to a song like this, like the theme, just beautiful. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Go on, Blue. Tell us.
I've actually synced the song before, but I synced it in Fortnite.
Gross.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. I'm never touching that game for syncing again. Well, yeah, let's move on to the actual criticism. The song was it sounds weird saying this because you really fucking pulled everything out of this song that you could. I feel like it held you back to like a certain extent because it was just like at certain parts in the drop, or like other songs like have like a switching effect between like the growls and stuff in dubstep, right? The effects were solid though, and like the vibe I got from this was just it just really had a theme going for it, and it really built on that. The audio was also really well done, especially in the build-up parts with like Reinhard, and he like does the build up and he like swings like the hammer around. That's a really nice touch. This was like a thematic sync, and that I really like thematic syncs.
Yeah, this sync really stood out to me, or it stood out to all of us, I think, just in general, because Nerdbox had some really amazing words. He said, "Extremely cool theme, most creative in round one, in my opinion. Typography is fantastic." And the audio, I thought the audio was really good too. Like, just because the issues with Husel in the past was the audio, right? especially with spray differentiation, and he fixed that. And then you get a masterpiece like this. It was just phenomenal. Like, I hope he can continue. I hope he can continue this consistency, because this is a statement right there. This sync is a statement to the rest of that competition, where great creativity and great audio mixing and everything into a sync like this, like that. It's, in my opinion, I'm surprised this sync didn't win. I'll be, or at least did not finish in the top 3 or top 2. I thought it'd get an even higher score than this, just because how strong this sync was. This sync was a statement.
I want to give him one more bit of criticism, which he can maybe build on for the next round. So remember how, like, I said, with, like, when you, like, sync songs and you, like, use, like, the sprays and you, like, make them fade out, please, for the love of God, like, do a haymaker and 8/12 trick. Because it, like, it's really hard to distinguish when, like, you, like, end a spray and when you, like, add a new spray, because, you know, the spray just kind of keeps going on the visual side of things, but not on the auditory side of things. It just looks really weird, you know?
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's the only, like, other thing that I want to say about this. Great job, man.
All right, now we are moving on to the top 3, finishing with 81.7 points. 81 points. This is crazy. Like, this is a lot of points, I have to say. And the top Russian sinker, once again, he leads the way for the Russians, setting the bar high. We have Jarail. And he decided to do the song called Breakout, which is really cool. Really cool snowmobile cinematics in the beginning. That was, in my opinion, that's a nice touch. Just to set the song. And it may seem like this sync was simple compared to the rest of the entries that we had, like from Husel and from who we'll talk about later and all that. But simple and effective is the 2 words that I have for a sync like this. Just absolutely amazing. And the audio is just so crisp and just so amazing. And this is very similar to Asmo's Battlefield entries back last season, or 2 seasons. When I think it was last season, Asmo, when he did the simple routes and stuff, and it was just flawless, absolutely flawless. Jarail is doing that same route, at least for this round, and it definitely will open up an avenue for him to have a really good round 2 and round 3 sync if he makes it that far, or if he makes it to round 3. And I think Jarail's in one of the best positions to win this competition based off where we are right now, just because he has a simple and effective sync where he can build off of that and really slam that 2nd or 3rd entry with a really big sync. But anyways, looking at the sync itself, just absolutely crisp, absolutely beautiful, so beautiful. Loved it. Simple and effective is all I can really say for this.
Yeah. What I said about this sync, it was also, like, one of the high scoring syncs that I put out there. So this is my description. Random fucking key mashing because I'm like a fucking bottom bitch or something. I don't know what the fuck I was saying about. It just works. Holy shit. Everything is in perfect proportions. Everything is well balanced. Everything just... The vibe. The audio. The visuals. The building on the first drop in the second drop, like once again, like the second drop is like an improved version of the first one, which I really like when people do that. It's just this sync. It just fucking blew my mind. Like, oh my god, man! Holy shit! I am at a loss of words. This sync. I can't say anything except, like, you're one of the top people that, like, belong in this community. Like you deserve your place in the community. Like, damn, you're just. Like I said, I'm at a loss of words. Your syncs are just so amazing, and so.
And
cool.
From the words of Nerdbox, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Nerdbox just had the simple words, a very competent sync. That's all he could say. It was just that good. It was just that good. And like I said, simple and effective route. It's a very hard route to take, but if you do it correctly, then it's
so good that I don't even have to make comments.
exactly. I feel the same way, man. And Jarrell, I really want to see that powerhouse sync that you got later in this competition as well. I know you got that powerhouse waiting, so wait for the right time and then pounce, my guy. I mean, you got a great chance to win this as well. So now going over to second place, the last two with a grand total of 82.5 points. And finally, we get to see this guy in round 2 of competition. Finally, after season 2's missed by 1 place and not entering through the other seasons of the competition, Sparkles 100 HD. We finally get to see this guy in round 2 of competition. And oh my god, this sync for a CS:GO gun sync, like, oh my god, dude, beautiful. The ghosting effect was just absolutely awesome, and then it was really cool to see the perspective, like, that you see in the beginning, like in the intro, to get into the perspective of the weapon of the person. It was really cool to see how he did that, like just the cinematics that go into that, just how precise it was. And that was a really nice touch that just goes with the sync very well. And then watching the actual gun sync. Oh yeah, and also the CC was really cool to see. I love the CC. That was definitely, that popped out at you. It was really cool. The purple in the beginning, then the change of colors going into the buildup. And then watching a bunch of the games transition all at once. It was just so smooth, and it was just a beautiful sync from Sparkles. One of the most creative entries in this competition for sure as well, like on par with Husel's, or if not, I'd say even a little better, but just beautiful. Really cool effects throughout, and really cool weapons usage. Modern Warfare 3 green screen weapons, Modern Warfare Remastered, Battlefield was used. This was just beautiful. And then on top of all that, third-person perspective syncing. When was the last time you seen this? When was the last time?
Like, holy shit, man. That's, like, so cool. I don't know if I've ever seen this before. I've seen, like, aim-down sight syncing, but not this.
Yeah, like, third-person perspective from its finest. Not just from, like, the side, like at Fortnite or behind it, but, like, actually, like, that was cool. Like, creativity. Waiting to see when the next big creative sync would come out. And this is it. This is it right here. It was just beautiful. And then he threw the flashbang at the 212 marker to get to the second drop, or the next drop of the second song they used, and it was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful all the way around.
Okay. Ooh, where do I begin with this one? Almost perfect, except a few questionable edits in the first song. Like, at times, I know you have, like, cut, like, in the first song, because the drop is, like, a lot shorter than it, like, is in the, like, in the original song. It's really threw me off, because at some points it just, like, screws with the progression of, like, the drop. That's the only nitpick I have about this. Apart from that, the creativity was on point, and so are the effects. Like, whoa, like this is some next level big brain shit. Like, holy shit. Like you fucking hot damn, man. Like, you really put yourself out there, and you really did a great job. Much respect from me. Thumbs up.
And from Nerdbox, he said, very cool intro. The ghosting effect is sick. A little bit of mix is inconsistent in the drop. And then he said, gun sync from the third person? Holy shit. Hot take. That's the very words of Nerdbox right there. But I have no words. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful this sync was. I want to see, like, And now that we finally get to see Sparkles in the second round, now we can see what he can do. And Sparkles is one of the favorites to win this competition. After watching a sync like this, he's one of the favorites for sure. And now, finishing in first place, and the overall winner of round number 1 with a grand total of 85.6 points. We have made it to the end. We have the German sinker first coming into the competition for the first year, the rookie Flying Cucumber. Okay, so I was gonna say, what really intrigued me in the beginning was number 1, the flick of the ruler. That definitely adds to variety of the sync for sure, and surprisingly, the sound fits really well with that, which was kind of cool. And then you see a bunch of different games going on all at once, which is really nice, really smooth in transition, not really too obnoxious. It was really nice, really cool song, by the way. I believe the song is called Fundy. Is that the song?
I don't know. I think it is. Let me check. Song used. I think, yeah, it's Fundy. The name of the song is Fundy. Neo is the artist.
Okay, so we do transition from a bunch of games going on at once, and then when the drop comes out, the drop was just beautiful music to the ears. The Overwatch part especially was really cool, and then you get the yeah boy in the background, some good memes as well to add to the sync, just to add some meme sync to it as well. And it was just outstanding, this sync, and really good solid reload sounds. That was really another thing that stood out to me, was how clean and crisp the reload sound sounded. And then getting onto around the 117 118 marker, you get some more memes and some more sprays, and Death Machine, really nice use of the Death Machine, and really cool, solid use of the effects. Nothing too obnoxious, but something that works really well, and something that works well. And then you get an internet crash of some kind at the 138 marker, and then you get the what the fuck meme at the 145 marker, the TV getting shot up, and the sync pretty much finishing up. And just thought it was beautiful. Very well done, Mr. Flying Cucumber. You've impressed the field, and you sir have won round number 1. And if you're watching this video, feel free to say any words that you have to say in the comments. Although I'm not going to give you too much slack yet, just because this is only round 1, and we need to get into the second and the third round of this competition before we get any bragging rights going out. But congratulations, Mr. Flying Cucumber, with your really nice sync.
Yeah. Holy shit. I am not big brain enough to fucking comment on this sync. Oh, like, man. It's just fucking amazing. I'm impressed. It's definitely up there. It's like, the memes. The best choice of weapons out of any sync I've seen so far. Like, like the Mercy emote, and then like the Diva when she puts up like her Matrix barrier. It all fits so well, and like even like the voice samples you used, it's just the reloads of the pistols. Just, oh my god, man. I can't even. This is just outside of my thinking field. I'm sorry. I'm just out of lots of words.
And then Nerdbox just said, not bad. Not bad. That's all Nerdbox had to say. And in fact, we're going to give a cameo to actually somebody else for the comment on this one. Dr. Jaden. We're going to give him a little bit of a spotlight here. He said, what else can I say other than perfection? That's what he said with Flying Cucumber's entries. That's wise words from wise words of the J. So with that, we have our results finished up. So the 24 sinkers that will be moving on to the next round, unless somebody drops and we have to sub somebody in. We have Flying Cucumber, Sparkles 100 HD, Charail, Husel Pusel, Bravo 6, Vua Choi, Toverntyak, Nugan Nam, Mr. Kelmeister, Explorer Gunsink, Commando Derp, Stan QAQ, Make It Rain, Cake Pew, Hi Hum, Sturm Down, Lightning VN, Hoi Hyung, Wing, Triple XSZJ 233, XX, Thien GS, Kyuda, Jaju, Venice. Oh yeah, and Venice. So yeah, that's our official top 24. So out of those 24 sinkers, only 10 will make it to the finale. Only 10. So there will be no group stage this year. We're just going to be doing the top 10 sinkers.
Like the old
We'll get to
days.
fight it out. Just like the old days. We're bringing back the old days for this 5th year of competition. The
Hell
top 10 from those 24 sinkers will get to move on to the finale. So the second round sinks. Second round from that will be due on August 30th. August 30th will be when round 2 submissions will be due. And we're giving everybody about a month so then we can cram this round in and then move on to the actual finale itself. So we wish the competitors out there the best of luck going into this competition. And if any of the top 24 has to drop for whatever reason, so then you have about 2 weeks to drop out of this competition. Otherwise, we will not be accepting a formal drop, and you'll be penalized if you try to drop out before that. Just as a reminder of the KOS rules and stuff, if you're going to actually drop out for whatever reason, you have to. So then just let us know within the first 2 weeks of this round. So then we could get a replacement, especially someone that's in, the top, whoever's next in line. So like say one person has to drop for whatever reason, then we have to get in contact with 25th and 26th place and all that. So those who did finish in 25th and 26th, keep an eye on when that's going to go on. So the best way to contact me or Blue is through Discord. So be sure to join our Discord if you're not in already. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Discord is in the description.
Yes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this round 1 results. I do want to thank all of our beautiful judges. Not PGS in this case, just because he didn't do shit this time around. But thank you to all of our judges, all of our staff, all of the competitors in this competition. I give you many thanks for taking part in this competition. And also thank you guys for being so patient with us. We should have had this results video done about a month ago, but we had stuff going on and stuff. So thank you all of the sinkers for finishing your round 1 entries and being patient with us. And we'll make sure to do much better in round 2 when round 2 comes around. So we'll make sure to get everything done much quicker, and we'll go from there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys, and we'll see you guys for round 2.